Chapter 4:14. Squeak! A strange cry spread in all directions from the bottom of the immortal subduing valley. The mountain peak in the center directly collapsed. Boom! The explosions continued, and the dust rose to the sky. A green-haired, ape-like monster with a height of 100 meters drilled out of the ground, and it seemed endless. These green-haired monsters were green nightmares. Boom! Boom! The green nightmares stepped forward, cracked the ground, and went straight to the four thunder giants like a torrent. The terrifying momentum made people's scalp tingle. The thunder giant's face did not change, and he pushed the ball of thunder and lightning in his hand out unhurriedly. An electric snake galloped up from the ball of thunder and lightning, spreading over the immortal subduing valley. In the blink of an eye, a huge thunder and lightning net was formed, covering the entire immortal subduing valley. Buzz! The thunder and lightning net fell rapidly, and in an instant it blasted on those green nightmares. Boom! Boom! The sound of the explosion kept ringing. The green nightmares' bodies were made of dust, bursting apart one by one. The shock wave hit all directions, and for a while it was endless. The power of the thunder and lightning net gradually dissipated, and finally, it collapsed together with the thunder and lightning ball. The whole valley, dust soared into the sky, covering everything. Sun Hao looked at this scene, and a flash of surprise passed away. Afterward, he looked at the Thunder Tribulation Lord, and the expression on his face changed. This little guy's identity is not simple. I don't know what his identity is. However, if he doesn't say, I don't bother to ask. Sun Hao thought secretly, continuing to look at the immortal subduing valley, revealing a dignified face. Suddenly, howl! A roar came from the immortal subduing valley. This sound, with a sorrowful voice, spread in all directions. Hearing it, people couldn't help but feel sad. The four thunder and lightning giants covered their ears with a painful expression. Plop! Plop! One by one, they knelt on the ground, their bodies twitching. The electric light on their bodies gradually extinguished. Seeing this scene, the Thunder Tribulation Lord's face changed drastically. Come back! A soft shout. The four thunder and lightning giants turned into 4 rays of lightning and returned to the Thunder Tribulation Lord's hands. Young master, don't worry, leave everything to me. After speaking, the Thunder Tribulation Lord's body leaped, turning into a stream of light and rushing into the immortal subduing valley. Howl! Another roar came from the mountain peak in the valley, forming a destructive shock wave that headed straight for the Thunder Tribulation Sovereign. If it was in the past, I would naturally be wary of you. However, after following the young master for so long, I'm no longer the old me. How dare a Grade 4 demigod Green Nightmare King act so arrogantly in front of me? The Thunder Tribulation Lord unhurriedly stretched out his hand and pressed forward. Instantly, a giant palm of lightning took shape and pounced towards the mountain peak. Boom! Boom! Wherever it went, the ground cracked into nothingness, revealing the rocks beneath. Even those mountain rocks seemed to be unable to withstand this kind of power, and were quickly cracking. The entire earth seemed to be evaporating. The giant lightning hand was like a hand of nothingness. Wherever it went, everything would crumble into nothingness. Squeak! The 1,000-meter-tall Green Nightmare King let out a strange cry as a hint of panic appeared on its face. Without any hesitation, he took a step forward and fled. However, there was no time. The lightning hand reached the Green Nightmare King in the blink of an eye. Bang! A very soft sound rang out. Cracks appeared on the Green Nightmare King's body. A look of extreme panic appeared on his twisted face. Bang! There was an explosion. The Green Nightmare King's body exploded into powder. The lightning hand's power did not diminish as it continued to blast forward and landed on the mountain peak. Boom! Boom! The loud noise continued. The mountain peak was blasted into nothingness bit by bit. Trees, rocks, soil, nothing was left. Just SOSO. The Thunder Tribulation Lord stood in place, revealing a confident smile. Suddenly, the Thunder Tribulation Lord raised his eyebrows, looking at the mountain peak, and couldn't help but frown. He saw a giant hand up to 5,000 meters tall stood in the air. The giant hand was golden in color and looked like a Buddha's hand. Under the Buddha's hand, it suppressed a 2,000-meter-tall ape-shaped statue. This statue had 6 ears and looked a little weird. The statue held a giant stick in its right hand, staring straight ahead. In its eyes there was a monstrous flame of anger. It opened its big mouth, revealing dense fangs like a violent ape. At a glance it made people's hearts tremble, and cold sweat flowed. At the feet of the ape-shaped statue, it stepped on a 1,000-meter-tall pentagonal tower. The giant tower was black, emitting a metallic luster, and it looked indestructible. The Thunder Tribulation Lord looked at this scene with a solemn face. Finally, his eyes were fixed on the ape-shaped statue. "Six-eared macaque?" The Thunder Tribulation Lord muttered to himself, his face showing a thoughtful look. Six-eared macaque, he had naturally heard of it. That was the demon with a fierce reputation in ancient times. It was said that it became so violent because it was contaminated with the ultimate aura. Unexpectedly, it was suppressed here. Who was the one who suppressed it here? The Thunder Tribulation Lord muttered to himself, and was about to rush forward. "You come up." A sound rang in his mind. "Yes, young master." The Thunder Tribulation Lord rose into the sky and came to Sun Hao's side. "Leave the rest to me." Sun Hao looked at the Buddha's hand and couldn't help but frown slightly. He had also seen this scene when he was on the demon Ancestor mountain range. Inside the giant black tower there were 2 souls suppressed. He didn't know them at first, but now that he thought about it, there was a familiar feeling. Could it be that one of the 2 souls was Sun Wukong's? Thinking of this, Sun Hao's face changed. He seemed to understand a lot of things, but it seemed that he couldn't understand anything, and it was even more messy. "Let's not worry about it first, let's see who is suppressed here." Thinking like this, Sun Hao's mind moved. Buzz, a transparent giant hand formed. It pressed straight down from the sky and went straight to the Buddha's hand. Seeing that it was about to press on the Buddha's hand. At this time, "Fellow Taoist, don't." Above the Buddha's hand, a 10,000-meter-tall Buddha phantom condensed and formed. He looked at Sun Hao and said. However, Sun Hao didn't pay attention to this phantom at all. The transparent giant hand continued to press down. "This seat is the clone of the Buddha. Fellow Taoist, stop quickly. Below there is a great demon suppressed, and it must not be released." "No, don't." The voice stopped abruptly. The Buddha statue phantom, after touching the transparent giant hand, instantly burst into light and shadow and disappeared. The speed of the transparent giant hand did not slow down, and it pressed down on the Buddha's hand. Gotcha! As the transparent giant hand fell, the Buddha's hand seemed to be unable to withstand this kind of pressure and broke apart a little. Finally, boom! With a loud explosion, the entire Buddha's hand directly exploded into powder. When the Thunder Tribulation Lord saw this scene, his eyes revealed incomparable admiration. Looking at Sun Hao's gaze, he didn't withdraw for a long time. "Not good." Suddenly, the Thunder Tribulation Lord's scalp exploded, and he secretly said that it was not good. Chapter 4:15. After the Buddha's hand disappeared. Gotcha! The sound of an eggshell cracking rang out. Cracks spread all over the giant ape statue. Bang! There was an explosion, and rubble flew into the sky. The 6-eared macaque twisted its neck as its eyes emitted 2 golden rays. He stared directly at Sun Hao and Suyu. Hee, the 6-eared macaque raised its head to the sky and let out a series of strange laughter. Old Sun, will not die. Kid, you didn't expect this, did you?" The 6-eared macaque stick pointed at Sun Hao and shouted angrily. "Impudent!" The Thunder Tribulation Dominator took a step forward and instantly appeared in front of the 6-eared macaque. "Is the young master someone you can point at? Give me your life." After saying that, Thunder Tribulation Lord went straight to Six-Eared Macaque. However, swish, a piercing sound rang out. A giant stick covered the sky and smashed down at the Thunder Tribulation Sovereign. Boom! Heaven and earth shook, and the airwaves shook. The Thunder Tribulation ruler was smashed into the ground by the Six-Eared Macaque, causing dust to fly everywhere. A little bug dares to clamor in front of me? You're asking for a beating. The Six-Eared Macaque raised his giant cudgel and smashed it down at the Thunder Tribulation Lord. Boom! Boom! With each strike, a mountain rock was blasted open. Rubble powder soared into the sky. The Thunder Tribulation Sovereign was smashed into the ground, grimacing in pain. Damn it, damn it! You really think I'm easy to bully? The Thunder Tribulation Sovereign roared, and the joints in his body kept exploding. His entire body expanded rapidly. In less than a moment, he had transformed into a 10,000-meter-tall lightning giant with 4 heads and 8 arms. His 8 arms were as thick as heavenly pillars. Sizzle electric arcs of various colors kept darting around the Thunder Tribulation Sovereign's body, bursting out with soul-stirring power. So, it's a heavenly law lackey. Hee, killing you isn't too bad. The corner of Six-Eared Macaque's mouth curled up as he shouted. Gotcha! The joints in his body crackled continuously. In the blink of an eye, he had transformed into a 3-headed, 6-armed, 10,000-meter-tall ape. The Thunder Tribulation ruler and the Six-Eared Macaque fought in an instant. Ding! The sound of metal colliding could be heard, and a shock wave could be felt. Every collision caused the entire Penglai continent to tremble. In Penglai Immortal City, Zhong Lizi looked to the east, a look of panic on his face. He clenched his fists tightly, his heart trembling violently. Beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. Young master, I believe you will win. No one is your match. Beside Zhong Lizi, hundreds of millions of cultivators stood in the sky, looking in the direction of the immortal subduing valley. Their expressions changed drastically. That's the location of the immortal suppression valley. What kind of experts are fighting? Even though I'm so far away, it still makes my heart tremble. I think there are at least demigod experts fighting. Fortunately, they are restraining themselves. Otherwise, the entire Penglai continent would have been annihilated. Cries of surprise rang out continuously. Everyone's hearts were in their throats, trembling along with the loud noises. In the immortal subduing valley. Boom! Boom! The loud noises continued. The fight between the Thunder Tribulation Lord and the Six-Eared Macaque became more and more intense. The terrifying might shook the heavens and split the earth. Shock waves were created that swept out in all directions with the force of toppling mountains and overturning seas. Wherever it went, everything was blasted into nothingness. The shock waves were about to leave the immortal suppression valley and crash into other mountains. At this moment, buzz, a layer of transparent ripples enveloped the immortal suppression valley, resolving all of these powers. Boom! There was a loud noise. The Six-Eared Macaque's body stepped back. It crashed directly into the ground, and it took a long time for it to struggle up. It looked at the Thunder Tribulation Lord, grinned, and a touch of blood flowed out. It's a bit interesting, 4 heads and 8 arms are really stronger than 3 heads and 6 arms. Old son, am going to start getting serious, are you ready? After saying that, the Six-Eared Macaque pulled out a clump of hair from the back of its head and blew lightly. A figure appeared out of thin air. Every figure looked exactly the same as the Six-Eared Macaque. 3 heads and 6 arms, waving the stick, went straight to the Thunder Tribulation Lord. Immediately, boom, boom, the Thunder Tribulation Lord was attacked from all sides, and it was difficult for his 8 arms to resist. Boom! A stick fell on his arm, and the thunder hammer in his hand instantly fell to the ground and was picked up by the Six-Eared Macaque clone. Boom! Before the Thunder Tribulation Lord could react, one of his heads was hit hard, and he was dizzy. From a glance, the Thunder Tribulation Lord was beaten without any power to resist. In less than a moment, he was not lightly injured. Falling to the ground, he used his 8 arms to protect his 4 heads, letting the stick hit him. Boom! Boom! The loud noise continued, and the Thunder Tribulation Lord was seriously injured. He fell to the ground, motionless. Die! The 6-eared macaque roared, waved the giant stick, and gave the Thunder Tribulation Lord a blow. Boom! There was a loud noise. The giant stick hit the Thunder Tribulation Lord, smashing him into a phantom. No, it should be said that it hit the Thunder Tribulation Lord's phantom. The 6-eared macaque's expression stagnated, and his eyes swept, staring directly at Sun Hao. "It's you?" The corner of the 6-eared macaque's mouth raised, and his blood-red eyes revealed a monstrous killing intent. Sun Hao turned a blind eye to this scene. At this moment, he looked at the Thunder Tribulation Lord and said, "Break and build, this will be a good thing for you. Recover for a while." Sun Hao exhaled softly. The 7-colored divine essence wrapped in the power of life rushed into the Thunder Tribulation Lord's body. The broken body of the Thunder Tribulation Lord healed quickly. The expression of pain quickly turned into a smile. 4 heads and 8 arms quickly disappeared, changing to the size of an ordinary person. The 6-eared macaque looked at this scene and his face changed. "Kill!" The 6-eared macaque pointed at Sun Hao and shouted softly. Immediately, thousands of avatars waving the stick rushed straight to Sun Hao. The air was distorted and the waves of air oscillated. Seeing that thousands of 6-eared macaque avatars were about to pounce on Sun Hao. Sun Hao opened his mouth, facing the front, and blew a breath. A gust of wind came in the blink of an eye. Boom! Boom! Thousands of avatars burst apart one by one, turning into monkey hair and slowly falling. The 6-eared macaque looked at this scene and kept shaking his head, with a face of disbelief. "This is impossible. How can you be so strong? The last time I saw you, you didn't even have 1/10,000th of your strength now. Is old Sun going to die here?" The 6-eared macaque looked unwilling. At the moment when it was stunned, the wind of nothingness fell on it. No, a cry of alarm resounded through the world. "Don't be complacent, old Sun is not something you can kill. When I return, it will be the time of your death." A sound echoed throughout the immortal subduing valley and lingered for a long time. The 6-eared macaque's body collapsed into powder and disappeared without a trace. All around, calm was restored. In the immortal subduing valley, it had been bombarded into a mess. Sun Hao stood in the sky, looking ahead, and said, "Want to run?" After speaking, Sun Hao stretched out his hand and grabbed forward. P.S. Group 9477828868, looking forward to you joining. Chapter 416. No, don't! A terrible howl resounded through the world. The void in front of Sun Hao shook with layers of ripples. The 6-eared macaque was pulled out of the void by Sun Hao. The 6-eared macaque's body shrank smaller and smaller, turned into the size of a finger, and was held in Sun Hao's hand. Who the hell are you?" "My technique, even old man Tathagata can't see through it. How can you see through it?" The 6-eared macaque looked at Sun Hao with a puzzled face. Hee. Sun Hao smiled slightly and did not answer. He just crossed over and got the system. Who else could it be except Sun Hao? "Tell me, who instructed you to suppress here?" Sun Hao asked. "You don't know? Wasn't I cheated by old man Tathagata?" The 6-eared macaque said. "Tathagata?" Sun Hao frowned with a thoughtful face. The 6-eared macaque was cheated by Tathagata, so he must be suppressing one of the 5 demons. However, why did Tathagata want to suppress the 6-eared macaque? What was the relationship between the 6-eared macaque he encountered in the Demon Burial Mountain Range and this 6-eared macaque? How did he know me? Sun Hao was puzzled. He couldn't understand all this at all. "What is your relationship with the 6-eared macaque in the Demon Burial Mountain Range?" Sun Hao asked. "You don't know?" The 6-eared macaque looked sluggish. "That's me too. Nonsense, you are suppressed here. How can you recognize me? Sun Hao said. My lord, this is soul sharing. My 6 physical bodies can all share my soul. No secret technique can suppress it, the 6-eared macaque said. Hearing this, Sun Hao nodded slightly. Turned out to be like this. So, you still have 4 bodies? Sun Hao asked. Yes, my lord. The 6-eared macaque nodded. It should be okay to destroy your body, right? After Sun Hao finished speaking, he stretched out his finger and poked at the 6-eared macaque. Seeing this scene, the 6-eared macaque's face changed dramatically. He had already seen Sun Hao's horror just now. With just a breath, he could turn himself into ashes. Not to mention using his finger to poke him, it was completely dead. Although he couldn't die for the time being, and could be resurrected through other bodies, those fleshly bodies were currently suppressed underground, unable to come out at all. Not to mention, this body was the original body. If it was destroyed, it would no longer be able to condense another physical body. No, sir. The 6-eared macaque hurriedly waved its hands in fear. He watched Sun Hao's fingers stop in front of the half-inch body and secretly wiped his cold sweat. Give me a reason. Sun Hao's voice was cold. Master, Zhu Beiji's soul is suppressed down there, 6-eared macaque said. Do you still need to say this? Sun Hao said. Wait, my lord, let me finish first. Seeing Sun Hao stop, the 6-eared macaque broke out in a cold sweat. The existence in front of him was too difficult to serve. If he was not careful, he would be blasted to death. He had to be careful not to say anything wrong. My lord, aside from this place, I know of 3 other places where the souls of Ao Lai, Tang Xuanzang and Sha Wujing are suppressed. I am willing to take you to those 3 places and help you break their seals. 6-eared macaque said. Oh, I think you want to borrow my hand to release your other bodies, right? Sun Hao's voice was cold. The 6-eared macaque's scalp exploded and quickly knelt on the ground. My lord, yes, you are right, I have this intention. However, with my strength, what can I do in front of you? Even if my body is gathered, you only need to blow a breath to destroy me. The 6-eared macaque said one sentence at a time. He knelt in front of Sun Hao, and a bloody light flashed in his eyes. You are right. I heard that you became like this because you were contaminated with the ultimate qi, am I right? As soon as these words came out, the 6-eared macaque's face changed dramatically. The blood in his body surged, and the violent qi enveloped all directions. Without any hesitation, the 6-eared macaque turned into an afterimage and fled quickly. However, can you escape? Sun Hao's eyes swept. The 6-eared macaque's body seemed to be imprisoned, unable to move at all. His body flew out uncontrollably and landed in front of Sun Hao. Squeak, the 6-eared macaque's eyes were blood-red, baring his teeth at Sun Hao, and rushed over like a vicious beast. Ultimate qi? You really know how to hide? Do you think it's useful to give him control? Come out. Sun Hao stretched out his hand and grabbed at the 6-eared macaque's eyebrows. Immediately, squeak, a burst of strange cries came from the 6-eared macaque's mouth. From the 6-eared macaque's eyebrows, a blood-red monster shaped like a spider was pulled out. The blood-red spider pounced on Sun Hao's hand, constantly grabbing and attacking frantically. However, it was useless. Sun Hao's hands were as hard as divine iron. No matter how hard it tried, it couldn't cause any damage. Squeak, the blood-red spider looked at Sun Hao and bowed as if begging for mercy. Evil things like you should not exist in this world. Die. He gently pinched. Boom, the blood-red spider exploded into a few strands of red light and disappeared. The 6-eared macaque fell in front of Sun Hao, motionless. Gradually, it opened its eyes, revealing a clear and bright expression. He looked at Sun Hao and bowed deeply. Master, your great kindness, I, old Sun, will remember it in my heart and never forget it. Get up, just call me young master. Sun Hao said. Okay, eldest. Young master. The six-eared macaque looked at Sun Hao with awe. You will follow me in the future, okay? Sun Hao asked. What? The six-eared macaque showed a face of disbelief. The light in his eyes flickered. Just now, Sun Hao's means had been clearly captured by the six-eared macaque. If he could follow such a powerful person, it would be a great fortune for him. In the future, even if he didn't find his demon power, it was only a matter of time before he recovered it. How could there be such a good thing? Why, you don't want to? Sun Hao said. No! The six-eared macaque waved his hand again and again. Young master, I was too surprised, and I couldn't calm down for a while. After speaking, the six-eared macaque faced Sun Hao and knelt down. Young master, I, old Sun, am willing to follow you, the six-eared macaque said. Well, you stand aside first, Sun Hao said. Okay, young master. The six-eared macaque retreated to the side, looking at Sun Hao with an excited face. Sun Hao looked at the dark pentagonal tower, aimed at the front, and blew gently. A force of nothingness rushed toward the pentagonal tower. Immediately, Kacha! The sound of an eggshell cracking sounded. Immediately afterward, boom! The pentagonal tower directly broke apart and burst into powder. Two phantoms flew out of the pentagonal tower and stood in front of Sun Hao. Chapter 4:17. After the two phantoms flew out of the pentagonal tower, they came to Sun Hao with a respectful look. These two phantoms, one in the shape of a pig, the other in the shape of a human. The two of them bowed deeply to Sun Hao to show respect. Then, he flew into the void and disappeared. One is the soul of Zhu Beiji, what about the other? Sun Hao asked. Young master, the other is the tool spirit of Zhu Beiji's nine-toothed rake. Six-eared macaque said. The tool spirit will also be suppressed? Sun Hao asked. Yes, young master. The tool spirit is not weaker than their master's strength, and when they riot, it is also quite terrifying, Six-eared macaque said. Hearing this, Sun Hao nodded slightly. It seemed that one of the two phantoms he saw at the beginning must be the tool spirit of the golden cudgel. Is it really Rulai who deceived you here? Sun Hao asked. Young master, yes, it was Rulai who deceived me here. Otherwise, how could I end up like this? Six-eared macaque's face was full of bitterness. Then do you know who arranged the green nightmare here? Sun Hao asked. Green nightmare? Six-eared macaque looked puzzled. Young master, is there a green nightmare here? Yes. Seeing Sun Hao nodding, six-eared macaque's face showed a touch of fear. Young master, green nightmare is… Speaking of this, six-eared macaque looked around as if he was afraid of some existence. After confirming that it was safe, he continued to speak. Green nightmare is a servant raised by the forbidden existence, very difficult to deal with. Where are they now? Six-eared macaque asked. All dead. Sun Hao said. Dead? How is this possible? Six-eared macaque looked up and down at Sun Hao with a surprised face. Young master, they are all gods. Gods? I think they are just demigods, Sun Hao said. So it seems that the strength of these green nightmare has also declined? Could it be that their strength is also sealed? Six-eared macaque frowned with a dignified face. Let's not talk about this first. Tell me first, who is the forbidden existence? Sun Hao asked. I don't know. Six-eared macaque shook his head. No one has ever seen the true face of the forbidden existence because those who have seen it have all been destroyed. A taboo existence. Even the heavenly Tao fears him. No one can say his name. Six-eared macaque's face was solemn. Sun Hao listened to this and frowned deeply. A taboo existence that even the heavenly Tao feared? Could the forbidden existence be a manifestation of the heavenly Tao? It deliberately deceived all living beings and toyed with them in the palm of its hand? The heavenly Tao treats all living things as straw dogs? Or could it be that the heavenly Tao was created by the forbidden existence? Also, what was the relationship between Tathagata and the forbidden existence? Or was Tathagata a taboo existence? What was in the Forbidden Land? What did that place have to do with the forbidden existence? The more he thought about it, the bigger Sun Hao's head was. It could be anything. However, this taboo existence was definitely his enemy. It was hard to say whether she was his greatest enemy. Because the two cosmic giants were pressing on his chest like giant mountains, Sun Hao did not dare to relax. In front of such a strong person, Sun Hao believed that with his current strength, it was completely like hitting a stone with an egg. It was no different from courting death. Now, the most important thing was to obtain a suitable cultivation method for himself. 6 ears, where are the other 3 sealed places? Sun Hao looked at Six-Eared Macaque and said, Young master, can you call me Old Sun? Six-Eared Macaque looked at Sun Hao weakly and asked, Shut up, say it quickly. A light shout made Six-Eared Macaque tremble in fear. Young master, the other 3 sealed places are the Absolute Beginning Mine in Tianluo Continent, Mount Meru in Elysium, and the Black Bone Cemetery in the Forbidden Land. These 3 places suppress the souls of Sha Wujing, Ao Lai, and Tang Sanzang. Six-Eared Macaque said. Listening to this, Sun Hao frowned. The Absolute Beginning Mine was nothing to be afraid of. It was said that there was a taboo existence there. It must be fake. At most, it was just a clone of the taboo existence. He should be able to fight against it. Mount Meru in Elysium, he had never been there. He didn't know the strength of the person who guarded there. As for the taboo place, he had been there. At that time, the ignorant were not afraid. After understanding it now, he learned that the gods could not come out after entering it. It must be extremely dangerous there. It seemed that it was not so easy to release Ning Mingji's soul. By the way, why is the scholar I met at the Inn Tang Sanzang? Isn't this too coincidental? Or, this is not a coincidence, is there an invisible big hand pushing all of this? Thinking of this, Sun Hao's scalp was numb. Cold sweat flowed down unconsciously. To be able to push all of this, I'm afraid that the invisible big hand is not simple. Could it be that the invisible big hand is the taboo existence? Why did he do this? With his strength, it must be easy to destroy us, right? Or does he amuse himself with us? Thinking of this, Sun Hao's heart sank to hell. An indescribable conspiracy came to his face. He felt that he was living in a shocking situation. Being controlled like this feeling was really bad. Don't think about it, maybe I'm not right. Doing everything next is the most important thing. No matter who it is, if you dare to stop me from resurrecting Ru Meng, I will crush your bones and scatter your ashes. Sun Hao thought secretly, and his face became more and more firm. Young master, the taboo place is extremely dangerous. I advise you not to go in easily. Six-Eared Macaque said. I know this. Sun Hao nodded slightly and looked at Six-Eared Macaque. Don't you want to free your other bodies quickly? Young master, of course I want to. However, you must have strength. I suggest you go to Mount Meru first. It is relatively safe there, only some old bald donkeys guarding. Presumably with your strength, saving Ao Lai's soul is not a problem. Six-Eared Macaque said. No. Sun Hao shook his head slightly. Go to the primordial mine first. Young master, no. Six-Eared Macaque showed a look of fear. It is said that the taboo existence is hidden in the primordial mine. It's okay, it's on the way. Since there is a taboo existence, I'll just go and meet him. Let's see why he wants to stop me from going to the Shadow Realm. Sun Hao stood up, his face showing a cold, killing intent. Six-Eared Macaque opened his mouth, unable to speak. He looked at Sun Hao's back with fear. With young master's strength, there must be a chance to deal with the taboo existence. Young master, shall we go now? Six-Eared Macaque asked. Don't worry, wait for him to wake up. Sun Hao looked at Thunder Tribulation Lord and said. Soon after, Thunder Tribulation Lord woke up slowly, and his eyes bloomed with a strange light. I broke through, I became a 9th grade demigod. Damn monkey, come again! Thunder Tribulation Lord's eyes swept and stared directly at Six-Eared Macaque. Squeak, Six-Eared Macaque jumped up and hid behind Sun Hao. Chapter 4:18 Tianluo Continent, in a mine on the edge of the absolute beginning mine. The lights were as bright as day. Ding, the sound of knocking resounded throughout the mine. A man stood in the mine, holding a few branches in his hand, and kept looking at them. Why did the branches of the soul-sinking divine wood appear here? Moreover, this thing can actually disperse evil spirits? The man muttered to himself, frowning and thinking. If Sun Hao was here, he would definitely recognize this man. This person was the sect master of the Source Heaven sect, Zhang Tianming. However, compared to before, he was much younger. Hall Master! At this moment, a bald head ran over quickly with a hint of joy on his face. I dug it. Dug it? Zhang Tianming's eyes glowed, and he quickly followed the bald head. Standing in front of a cave leading to the depths of the ground, Zhang Tianming dropped a few glowing gems and walked inside. Whoosh, after sliding for a while, it fell to the ground. This was a tomb, and it was obvious that the soil inside had just been removed. Standing in front of an ancient bronze coffin, Zhang Tianming frowned with a thoughtful look. The first generation of the Source Heaven sect is buried in this ancient bronze coffin. Could it be that the Ancestor is inside? Zhang Tianming muttered to himself. Inside the ancient bronze coffin, a skinny old man suddenly opened his eyes. The red hair all over his body lit up with a faint red light, illuminating the ancient coffin. The two scarlet eyes emitted a red glow that could take one's soul away. Another descendant is here? He grinned, and his fangs covered his entire mouth, which made people's hearts skip a beat. Child, open it, hurry up and open it. The skinny old man's face was full of expectation. Hall Master, do you want to open it? A voice came from outside the ancient coffin. Hearing this voice, the skinny old man's eyes lit up, and his face was full of joy. Finally, this day had come. Last time, when he encountered that terrifying existence, his soul was almost destroyed. Now, he was no longer able to carry out possession and could only wait for others to let him out. Then, in return, he would only devour their flesh and blood power. No, the founder of the Source Heaven sect must have turned into a red-haired monster. If we open it, it will be ominous. Hearing this, the skinny old man's face darkened, and he wished he could jump out now, point at Zhang Tianming and scold him. Boom! He was so angry that he slammed into the bronze coffin. The ancient bronze coffin shook, startling Zhang Tianming and the others. They took a few steps back. Hall Master, what should we do? Stay away, do not get close, Zhang Tianming said. Yes. Everyone backed away. Zhang Tianming stood in front of the ancient bronze coffin, revealing a thoughtful expression. Since the last time he saw the godly cunning immortal and gave himself a great fortune, his strength had advanced by leaps and bounds. In just a few short months, he reached the celestial immortal realm. Furthermore, he successfully joined the evil-suppressing alliance and became the Hall Master of the Northern region, taking charge of all matters in the Northern region. In the past month, strange things had happened one after another in the absolute beginning mine. All the living beings within 100 miles had disappeared for no reason. As the Hall Master, it was his duty to investigate the truth. Thus, he led a group of disciples of the Red Refining sect to the mine to find the truth. With this group of baldies around, they were full of yang energy. It was not a problem to scare away the sinister energy. However, half a month had passed, and the absolute beginning mine was strangely quiet. Nothing strange had happened. Are they afraid of us? Zhang Tianming thought. Just as he finished speaking. Boom! Boom! A burst of dull sounds came from the top of the head, and the sand and stones on the top of the wall fell. Hall Master, this? Don't move. Zhang Tianming stood where he was and listened. Above his head, like 10,000 horses galloping, rushed straight to the center of the absolute beginning mine. The sound gradually faded away. Everyone looked up at the top of their heads with a look of fear. They hadn't come to catch their breath yet. At this time, boom! The ancient bronze coffin shook wildly, as if a monster was about to jump out of it. The vibration became more and more intense, causing the entire tomb chamber to buzz and shake. "Run!" Zhang Tianming roared. Everyone retreated quickly and just ran to the corner. Boom! There was an explosion. The ancient bronze coffin rushed straight to the top of the wall, cracked the ground, drilled into it, and disappeared. Boom! Pieces of gravel fell straight down, burying them. Under the gravel, Zhang Tianming used an immortal shield to cover everyone. Whoosh! With a wave of his right hand, a ray of light flew out of his fingertips and exploded on the gravel. Boom! The gravel exploded into dust, covering the entire space, and it took a long time for it to dissipate. Everyone looked up at the huge hole on the top of the wall with a shocked face. "Hall Master, the ancient coffin has escaped, should we follow and see?" "Of course. Maybe we'll find out the truth soon." Zhang Tianming took them up into the sky, flew into the air, and looked at the center of the absolute beginning mine with a solemn face. "Is everyone ready?" Zhang Tianming asked. "Yes." Neat voices resounded throughout the world. Under the sunlight, these thousands of bald heads were shining. "Let's go." They turned into light and went straight to the center of the absolute beginning mine. After a while, Zhang Tianming and the others stood in the sky, looking down. Their scalp tingled, and cold sweat flowed. They saw thousands of meters of dust covered the sky. Howl! In the dust, a humanoid skinless monster kept roaring in the dust, revealing a mouth full of sharp teeth. A blood mist spewed out of their mouths, whistling in all directions, quickly covering the world. In less than a moment, the entire dust was reflected in a blood-red color. A cold breath whistled out of the blood mist. He pounced on everyone, his entire body turning cold. Isn't this too much? Isn't this too much? Hall Master, please speak." Zhang Tianming looked at these humanoid monsters. Zhang Tianming frowned, looking thoughtful. The strength of each humanoid monster had reached the immortal realm, and there were at least 10 million of them. Rushing in to fight them, what was the difference from courting death? If these humanoid monsters swept the earth, who would stop them? The more he thought about it, the more Zhang Tianming struggled. For a moment, he couldn't think of a way to deal with it. Boom! In the moment he was stunned, a loud sound rang out from the center of the absolute beginning mine. A shock wave spread in all directions. Wherever it went, it collapsed. With an overwhelming momentum, it enveloped all the humanoid monsters in an instant. Boom! Boom! The humanoid monsters all exploded into blood mist and disappeared on the spot. The surrounding blood mist was 10 times thicker, scarlet. Such a scene directly scared Zhang Tianming and the others to the spot. They were about to take a step to escape. At this time, the shock wave stopped abruptly. The surrounding blood mist fell to the ground like a waterfall. The entire ground had been blasted into a flat piece of land. After the blood mist landed, it surged rapidly, forming a blood line, wandering on the ground like a spirit snake. Lines of ancient array patterns were engraved. Zhang Tianming looked at this scene, his scalp tingled, and cold sweat flowed. Not good, that's the heavenly blood refining array, quick, run! However, there was no time. The next second, a sudden change occurred. Chapter 419. There was a shock. A transparent wave spread around in a spherical shape. In the blink of an eye, it enveloped a radius of 2,000 miles. At this moment, inside the absolute beginning mine, all creatures were fixed in place, unable to move. Even Zhang Tianming and the others were all imprisoned at this moment. Apart from the consciousness, the body seemed to have lost contact, and even moving the eyeballs could not be done. Whoosh! Suddenly, the sound of 8 breaking through the air came quickly. In the blink of an eye, it fell over the blood-refining heavenly array, floating up and down. Looking carefully, it was 8 ancient bronze coffins. In the ancient bronze coffins, it kept shaking, as if there were monsters bound and struggling inside. In one of the coffins, there was a skinny old man holding his head and screaming. After a while, the skinny old man's head tilted and he instantly lost consciousness. Outside, on the blood-refining heavenly array, strands of blood flew from the great array, intertwined with each other, forming 8 huge red blood ropes. The blood ropes quickly grew longer and fell on the 8 ancient bronze coffins, entangling around the bronze sarcophagus. In the blink of an eye, the ancient bronze coffins were tied up like dumplings and turned into a blood coffin. The blood threads, like silk, drilled through the cracks in the coffin and poured into the skeleton in the coffin. In less than a moment, the 8 skeletons opened their blood-red eyes one after another, and the murderous light seemed to be able to pierce through the 9 heavens. The 8 skeletons did not move, quickly absorbing the power of the great array. The 8 ancient bronze coffins slowly fell on the blood-refining heavenly array, suppressing in 8 directions. The blood light on the great array, along the blood ropes, quickly poured into the coffins. The blood light on the array was getting fainter and fainter, seeing that it was about to disappear completely. At this time, the skin of the creature that was trapped in the absolute primordium mine cracked open. Their blood flew out uncontrollably. It formed a blood thread and quickly flew toward the blood-refining heavenly array. From a distance, it looked like countless red hairs dancing in the wind. It's over. The evil-suppressing Alliance people felt the loss of blood in their bodies, and they could only think of these 2 words. Young Master, Alliance Master, I did not disgrace you. Young Master, I am willing to continue to be your pawn in the next life. Young Master, goodbye. Shouts resounded from the bottom of his heart. Although they were afraid, they did not regret it. I'm fine? Zhang Tianming's expression froze. He looked around in disbelief. He could feel the binding force on him quickly disintegrating, and soon, he regained his freedom. What happened? Zhang Tianming waved the branch in his hand with a puzzled expression. Swish, wherever the branches went, the blood threads in the sky would move away. It was like a mouse seeing a cat. So these blood energies are afraid of the soul-subduing divine wood's branches. We're saved. Looking at the despairing cultivators, Zhang Tianming waved his right hand. Thousands of branches flew out of his soul space and landed in front of everyone. As soon as it touched the blood thread, it was instantly severed. At the same time, the power that imprisoned them was also severed. They regained their freedom. Go. Zhang Tianming didn't dare to hesitate. He led everyone and soared into the sky. At the same time, he waved the heavy branch in his hand. Just as they were about to escape, a figure suddenly appeared in front of them. At this moment, bang, there was an explosion. The lid of one of the 8 ancient coffins exploded. A zombie with red hair all over its body sat straight out. A violent and ferocious aura rushed out. Buzz! 2 rays of red light shot out from his eyes and swept across everyone. At this moment, Zhang Tianming and the others felt like they had fallen into hell, and they trembled uncontrollably. A chill rushed from the back to the soles of the feet, and the whole body was cold. Zhang Tianming was horrified to find that his strength was rapidly draining. Soon, he couldn't even move a finger. Jie, the red-haired zombie grinned and let out a burst of strange laughter. That kind of sound, when it entered the ears, made people weak. This seat is finally resurrected, Jie. Today's world must be the Lord's. Human clan ants tremble. Jie, the red-haired zombie looked up to the sky and laughed for a long time. After a long time, the red-haired zombie recovered his emotions and stared directly at Zhang Tianming and the others. What a strong qi and blood, it's delicious. The red-haired zombie looked at Zhang Tianming and the others as if looking at a pile of delicious food. The saliva at the corner of his mouth fell unconsciously and dripped to the ground. The rocks on the ground were corroded into holes. "I'm coming!" The red-haired zombie took a step forward and instantly stood in front of Zhang Tianming. Then, it stretched out its claws, aimed at Zhang Tianming's head, and grabbed down. "It's over!" Sensing the irresistible power, Zhang Tianming's face was desperate, quietly waiting for death. Looking. The claws were about to grab Zhang Tianming's head. At this time, "Evil creature!" A loud shout. Immediately afterward, a stick broke through the air and fell directly on the red-haired zombie's claws. Dong, the dull sound of metal clashing rang out. Swish, the red-haired zombie's body flew out and fell directly to the ground. A figure quickly arrived and stood in front of Zhang Tianming. This figure, with golden hair all over his body and a stick in his hand, looked like an ape. Unlike other apes, this ape had 6 ears. 6-eared macaque? Zhang Tianming's body trembled, and he fell into despair. The name of the 6-eared macaque spread throughout the ancient times, and it was even more terrifying than the red-haired zombie. This time, there was no chance of survival. "What are you still doing? Why don't you retreat?" At this time, a sound shook in his mind. The power that bound Zhang Tianming and the others all collapsed. This sound was like the sound of nature. After Zhang Tianming heard it, he couldn't help but dig his ears, and his face was full of surprise. Then, he took everyone and flew to the sky, watching from a distance. Buzz! The red-haired zombie stepped out of the ground and instantly stood in front of the 6-eared macaque. Kaka, it twisted its neck, making a burst of bone friction sound. After the whole head turned around its neck, its eyes stared directly at the 6-eared macaque. Chi and blood surging, flesh like King Kong, if this seat takes over your body, it will not be a problem to restore the peak strength. Heaven is really helping me. Jia, the red-haired zombie grinned, revealing a mouth full of sharp teeth. A burst of sharp laughter resounded through the world. Humph! The 6-eared macaque snorted coldly, and without any politeness, he waved the iron stick in his hand. Swish! A sound of breaking air sounded. The iron stick arrived quickly and hit the head of the red-haired zombie in an instant. Dong! A sound of metal colliding sounded. This stick didn't make the red-haired zombie fly backward. The red-haired zombie stood in place. A layer of faint red light floated on its body, holding the iron stick of the 6-eared macaque. It looked at the 6-eared macaque and grinned. The saliva in its mouth kept flowing out, as if it saw a delicious food. Chapter 420. Buzz, the red-haired zombie twisted its right claw, and the iron rod in the 6-eared macaque's hand began to spin uncontrollably. The terrifying force made the 6-eared macaque's hand hurt, and it quickly let go. Phew! The red-haired zombie strode forward and stood in front of the 6-eared macaque in the blink of an eye. It aimed its claws at the 6-eared macaque's chest and pressed them down. Boom! With a loud bang, 6-eared macaque's body flew backward uncontrollably. It landed heavily on the ground and exploded into a cloud of dust. Thud! The red-haired zombie took a step forward and arrived in front of the 6-eared macaque in an instant. He looked at 6-eared macaque with a cold smile. Swish! The red-haired zombie waved the iron staff in his hand and smashed it down on the 6-eared macaque's head. Bang! For a time, the sound of tremors rang out continuously. The shock wave swept out in all directions with an unstoppable force. Wherever he went, mountains exploded, rocks cracked, and dust covered the sky. When Zhang Tianming and the others saw this scene, they broke out in a cold sweat. Their hearts beat violently along with the sound of the club being swung, as if they were about to jump out of their throat. It's too scary. This zombie is so scary. I can't beat the 6-eared macaque. What should I do? Hall Master, should we run? Everyone looked at the dust below, their faces pale. Zhang Tianming stood where he was, his chest rising and falling violently. He shook his head slightly. Where can we escape to in front of such an expert? Hearing this, everyone's faces were filled with despair. They looked at the dust and silently prayed. Suddenly, hiss, a roar resounded through the clouds. Damn zombie, old son, will smash you to death. The six-eared macaque transformed into a three-headed, six-armed monkey. It swung its 3 iron rods and smashed them down on the red-haired zombie. Ding! For a moment, the sound of metal clashing could be heard. The red-haired zombie was forced to retreat again and again. It didn't even have the strength to fight back. The red glow on his body was constantly wavering, as if it was about to collapse. Six-ears macaque let out a strange cry. The 3 metal rods combined into one and instantly smashed onto the head of the red-haired zombie. Bang! The red barrier shattered. The metal cudgel didn't slow down at all and smashed into his head. Boom! With a loud bang, heaven and earth shook. The red-haired zombie fell to the ground. Mountain ranges began to crumble and crumble. The dust that soared into the sky once again shrouded the world. The six-eared macaque looked at the red-haired zombie and panted heavily, a serious expression on his face. Suddenly, the six-eared macaque widened its eyes in shock. Hee-hee, a strange laughter rang out. The red-haired zombie stood up in a daze. He looked at the six-eared macaque and grinned. Then, a cold light burst out from his mouth. 3 heads and 6 arms, interesting. However, I also know this divine ability. After the red-haired zombie finished speaking, 2 heads and 4 arms drilled out of his body. Then, he took a step forward and appeared beside six-eared macaque. 3 sharp claws left afterimages on the spot as they grabbed hold of the six-eared macaque's 3 metal rods. The other 3 claws began to attack frantically. Ding! The sound of metal clashing could be heard continuously. At this moment, the six-eared macaque's entire body was in pain from being grabbed, and a terrifying force was rampaging through his body. At this moment, he was completely defenseless. Boom! With a loud bang, the six-eared macaque was smashed into the ground. It took a long time for it to struggle up. He looked at the red-haired zombie and gritted his teeth. You want to compete? Come on. The six-eared macaque roared, pulled out a bunch of hair and whispered, change. With this sound, thousands of clones rushed down like meteors and rushed toward the red-haired zombie. Hee-hee, the red-haired zombie grinned and didn't care at all. Little monkey, you want to deal with me with these? Break for me. The red-haired zombie sucked hard, and his shriveled stomach swelled rapidly. Then, he whispered to the six-eared macaque clone. Buzz, a wave of air came quickly. Wherever it went, the clones all burst into light and shadow, turned into hair, and floated down. The six-eared macaque's eyes widened and his face was panicked. This method is completely comparable to the young master. How is this possible? Before waiting for the six-eared macaque to react, a sky-covering bone claw came down from the sky and went straight to the six-eared macaque. The six-eared macaque's scalp was numb, and he quickly used his body to escape. The next second, the six-eared macaque's pupils shrank, and his face changed dramatically. He was horrified to find that his whole body was imprisoned and he couldn't move. The bone claw fell from the sky and held the six-eared macaque in his hand. No matter how he struggled, it was useless. The bone claw took the six-eared macaque and sent it to the front of the red-haired zombie. Sniff! The red-haired zombie sniffed his nose and revealed a look of enjoyment with his eyes closed. What a surging blood, what a strong body. If I take over the body, it will be no problem for me to return to my peak. After that, the red-haired zombie stretched out his claw and pointed at the six-eared macaque's eyebrows. A force that could destroy the soul was moving at his fingertips. The six-eared macaque saw this scene, and his face changed dramatically. He struggled to raise his head and looked at the void. Dead fatty, do you still want to watch the show? The voice was long and spread in all directions. Hearing this, the red-haired zombie's face changed slightly. Someone? The red-haired zombie's eyes burst out 2 blood-red lights and swept into the void. However, there was nothing in the void. Little monkey, you actually deceived me? Oh, die. The red-haired zombie stretched out his claw, aimed at the six-eared macaque's eyebrows, and stabbed. Seeing that it was about to pierce the six-eared macaque's eyebrows. At this time, the red-haired zombie raised his eyebrows, revealing a face of uneasiness, and quickly stopped. Looking up, his pupils shrank and his face changed greatly. Only to see, in the sky, a white thunder and lightning ball quickly fell. Before the red-haired zombie could react, it fell to the ground and quickly exploded. Boom! Boom! A bolt of lightning, like a giant dragon, enveloped the entire absolute beginning mine, rolling on the ground, and everywhere it went, the sound of explosions continued. The power of the heavenly blood refining array that shrouded all living beings instantly disintegrated. The red-haired zombie's body was also covered with electric light, and every time it swam, it would explode on his body. When the electric light dissipated completely, the red-haired zombie's whole body was charred black, and he spat out smoke rings from his mouth. He looked very miserable. Ha ha! A laugh came from the void. Dead monkey, you also have this day? Aren't you very powerful? What? Is there a time when you beg me? A figure flew straight down from the sky and stood in front of the six-eared macaque. This person was the Thunder Tribulation Lord. On his body, all kinds of electric light were constantly intertwined, bursting out the power to destroy heaven and earth. Humph, don't be proud. When I, old son, get back my demon power, you will see. The six-eared macaque raised his head, not convinced at all. Oh, it looks like you are itching. After that, the Thunder Tribulation Lord waved his right hand, an array of electric light quickly flew out and drilled into the six-eared macaque's body. Bang! Hurry up and stop. Chapter 421. Zhang Tianming and the others stared blankly at this scene, unable to come back to their senses for a while. Hall Master, who is that? Look at the electric light on his body. It seems to be the light of tribulation lightning. That kind of power is definitely not the light of ordinary tribulation lightning. I suspect that he might be the Thunder Tribulation Dominator. As soon as these words came out, the surroundings were deathly silent. Everyone stared blankly at the Thunder Tribulation Sovereign, motionless. That kind of disbelief and shock was hard to describe with words. After a long while, oh my God, what an eye-opener today. First it was the demigod zombie monster, then it was the six-eared macaque, and now it's the Thunder Calamity Dominator. Why are these big shots appearing one after another? Could it be that this is a sign that the Dark Age is about to descend again? Everyone stared at the fight between the Thunder Tribulation ruler and the six-eared macaque again. After a long while, only then did the two of them stop attacking. Then, they fixed their gazes on the red-haired zombie. The red-haired zombie's entire body was scorched black, and it was lying motionlessly on the ground. He looked as if he was dead. Kill him, Six Ears Macaque said. All right. The corners of the Thunder Tribulation Lord's mouth rose as he waved his right hand. Sizzle! The lightning burst out in the hands of the Thunder Tribulation Lord, bursting out with a frightening sound. A lightning ball quickly formed in the hands of the Thunder Tribulation Lord. Die! The Thunder Tribulation ruler threw out the lightning ball in his hand and blasted it at the red-haired zombie. Buzz! The air was distorted and the shockwave was vibrating. The terrifying might made one's scalp go numb. Suddenly, Buzz, the red-haired zombie opened its eyes, and two rays of blood-red light shot out. He looked at the Thunder Tribulation Sovereign, his face full of unwillingness. Hee, even if I die, I'll drag you down with me. After saying that, the red-haired zombie opened its mouth wide. Squeak! A strange cry came from his mouth. Then, his body rapidly expanded. Bang! There was an explosion. The red-haired zombie exploded into a bloody mist. Phew! The blood mist rapidly intertwined, forming billions of blood threads that instantly entered the blood-refining heavenly array. Sizzle! the lid of the second coffin shook violently and exploded. A half-human, half-skeleton, red-furred monster sat up in a daze. Monstrous blood chi surged from its body and entered it. Phew! The red-furred monster opened its eyes and glanced at the rapidly descending lightning ball. Patting the coffin lightly, he soared into the air and dashed out. In the blink of an eye, he arrived beneath the lightning sphere and reached out to grab it. Buzz! The red-furred monster held the lightning orb in one hand and lightly squeezed it. The lightning ball exploded in his hand, and a few streaks of electricity shot up before gradually dissipating. No power was left behind. This, the Thunder Tribulation Lord and six-eared macaque widened their eyes in disbelief. A move from a ninth-grade demigod was actually easily crushed by the red-furred monster? In that case, wouldn't its strength be at the peak of the half-god realm, or even infinitely close to the divine spirit realm? Thinking of this, their scalps went numb. The six-eared macaque took a step forward, flipped its body, and instantly appeared dozens of kilometers away. The Thunder Tribulation Sovereign's face was solemn as he quickly transformed. Sizzle, in the blink of an eye, he became 10,000 meters tall with 4 heads and 8 arms, looking very mighty. Swish, the 2 arms were like pillars supporting the heavens as they smashed down on the red-furred monster. The red-furred monster did not dodge. Instead, it extended its bony claws and struck out with its palm. Boom! There was an explosion. The Thunder Tribulation Sovereign's body staggered back and fell to the ground. He looked at the red-furred monster, and the expression on his face changed. Whoosh! Before the Thunder Tribulation Sovereign could react, the red-furred monster stretched out its sharp claws and pressed toward the sky. Buzz! The sky trembled, twisting and deforming rapidly. A transparent sharp claw with a length of 20,000 meters quickly formed. The sharp claw, covering the sky, stretched down from the sky and aimed at the Thunder Tribulation Sovereign. Whoosh! The shocking pressure whistled down from the sharp claws, and in an instant, it enveloped the Thunder Tribulation Sovereign and six-eared macaque. This, the Thunder Tribulation Sovereign's body trembled uncontrollably. Not good, this is the Red Mandrill King. The six-eared macaque burst out in a trembling voice. What? The Thunder Tribulation Sovereign's body trembled. He had also heard of the Red Mandrill, which was a servant of the Forbidden Existence. The Red Mandrill King was even a minion of the Forbidden Existence. It was said that in ancient times, the Red Mandrill King could tear the God King apart. He did not expect to see it here. This was troublesome. The Thunder Tribulation Sovereign struggled frantically. However, it was useless. He could only watch helplessly as the sharp claws fell on him. Buzz! There was a shock. The sharp claws held the Thunder Tribulation Sovereign in his hand. The Thunder Tribulation Sovereign followed the sharp claws and quickly shrank, bringing him to the front of the red-furred monster. The red-furred monster grinned, and its eyes bloomed with a strange light, as if staring at the ultimate delicacy. Jia, the red-furred monster grinned, revealing its sharp teeth. It turned out to be a dog of the heavenly way. Interesting, this seat will kindly accept your body. The red-furred monster stretched out a sharp claw and stabbed at the Thunder Tribulation Sovereign's eyebrows. The terrifying power made the Thunder Tribulation Sovereign unable to resist at all. The corners of the Thunder Tribulation Sovereign's mouth rose, and his expression did not change at all. He looked at the red-furred monster, showing a look of watching a play. Seeing that the power of the sharp claws piercing the soul was about to pour into the Thunder Tribulation Sovereign's head. At this time, Buzz! There was a shock. The Thunder Tribulation Sovereign and six-eared macaque disappeared in place instantly. This, the red-furred monster's scalp exploded, revealing a look of panic. To be able to save a few people under its nose, the other party's strength must be extremely not simple. With the Lord here, don't be afraid. Thinking like this, the red-furred monster stared at the void, and the blood chi on its body surged. Who is it? Get out of here. Hiding the head and showing the tail, what kind of man are you? The voice was faint, echoing in the sky. However, no one responded. The red-furred monster's eyes swept and stared directly at Zhang Tianming and the others. This stare. The hairs on Zhang Tianming and the others stood up, and their whole body was cold. They stood in place, trembling all over, unable to move even after exhausting their strength. If you don't come out, this seat will destroy them, the red-furred monster roared. However, there was still no response. If that's the case, go to hell. After speaking, the red-furred monster stretched out its sharp claws and pressed toward the sky again. Buzz, a tens of thousands of meters long transparent claws that covered the entire world quickly formed. Above the sharp claws, a shocking pressure burst out, aimed at the people below, and pressed down. It's over. Young master, see you in the next life. One by one, they closed their eyes and waited quietly for death. However, after waiting for a while, there was no response. Nothing? With doubts, everyone opened their eyes one after another, looked up, and their faces were full of doubts. They saw. The sharp claws that covered the sky had disappeared at some point. Standing in the sky, it was the red-furred monster. At this moment, the red-furred monster's face showed panic, and its eyes kept sweeping around. Who the hell are you? Get out of here! The voice was long, echoing between heaven and earth. The next second, the red-furred monster's face changed dramatically. Chapter 422. Phew! A white-robed man descended from the sky, his clothes fluttering in the wind. Behind him, the Thunder Retribution Lord and six-eared macaque stood on both sides, just like two guards. The man was handsome, and his body emitted a faint radiance. His every movement was extremely natural, and it was extremely comfortable to watch. It was Sun Hao. Zhang Tianming and the others looked at Sun Hao and stood there stupidly, not calming down for a long time. Young master is here. My old ancestor, I didn't expect that Thunder Tribulation Dominator and six-eared macaque were just the young master's guards. Am I dreaming? What kind of existence is young master? Cries of alarm came one after another. The red-haired monster looked at Sun Hao motionlessly. A mortal? That's not possible. Could it be that I can't see through it? The red-haired monster muttered to himself. His eyes were filled with fear. Trying to act mysterious. Die. The red-haired monster snorted coldly, stepped forward and rushed towards Sun Hao. Sun Hao's eyes widened and swept his gaze on the red-haired monster. Instantly. Buzz, time stopped and space froze. The red-furred monster's body was frozen in place, unable to move. It was as if he had been turned into an ice sculpture. His two blood-red eyes kept rolling around in panic. This is impossible. Who are you? Just as he finished speaking. Phew! The red-haired monster's body flew backwards uncontrollably. As it flew, its body rapidly shrank. Within a moment, he became the size of a thumb and fell into Sun Hao's hand. Let go of me! The red-furred monster struggled frantically. However, it was useless. All of its power had been sealed, and it had completely lost contact with its consciousness. When Zhang Tianming saw this, he felt as if his heart had been struck by raging waves. For a moment, he could not calm down. Everything that had happened today was simply unimaginable. Such a terrifying red-haired monster was actually caught by the young master with one hand. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have believed it. Also, the Thunder Calamity Dominator and six-eared macaque were Child's guards. He had never seen or heard of such a thing before. Young master, thank you. I didn't expect that you would come to save us. Zhang Tianming stood on the spot, muttering to himself, excitement written all over his face. He looked at Sun Hao, and the light of worship kept sweeping away. Tell me, who is the master behind you? Sun Hao held the red-haired monster and said coldly. He. The corner of the red-haired monster's mouth curled up. The name of the Lord is not something you can know. Hurry up and let me go. Otherwise, you'll die a horrible death. The red-furred monster roared. Die a horrible death? Sun Hao raised the corner of his mouth, and his cold, killing intent was not concealed. He blew lightly. An invisible force instantly enveloped the red-furred monster's claws. Bang! There was an explosion. The red-furred monster's 2 claws were instantly pulverized. A surge of energy rampaged through the red-haired monster's body, attacking its mind. Squeak! Shrill screams shook the heavens. The red-furred monster let out a blood-curdling scream as its body trembled violently. A deathly crisis enveloped his entire body. Fear was written all over his face. "Master, save me!" The voice traveled underground. After this sound, "Let him go!" A soft shout came from underground. Immediately after, buzz, in front of Sun Hao, layers of ripples shook, and a woman stood in front of Sun Hao. The woman was dressed in a red robe with a pendant hanging around her neck. Blazing red lips and seductive figure looked extremely seductive. There were no fluctuations of power in the woman in red robe. It seemed that, like Sun Hao, she was just a mortal. After the woman appeared, behind Zhang Tianming, a group of bald men suddenly widened their eyes, revealing a surprised expression. "What? It's her." "What her?" "She is Fang Xiaoxiao, the #1 genius of the Fang family in the northern region." "How is this possible? Didn't they say that she had died in the absolute beginning mine? Why is she still alive?" Everyone looked at the woman in red robe with astonishment. In the beginning, when the Fang family dug up the 5-spirit immortal iron, the Chai family learned of the news and led a team to come. As a last resort, the Fang family took them into the mine, but they were all wiped out and never came out. This Fang Xiaoxiao was one of them. Logically speaking, under the evil plot of the demon race, Fang Xiaoxiao could not survive. Unexpectedly, she was still alive. Moreover, there was no power in her body. It seemed that, like the young master, she was just a mortal. She appeared in front of the young master in one step. This kind of strength could never be a mortal. Could it be that she was also a god like the young master? Thinking about it, many people's scalps exploded, and sweat rolled down their foreheads. They looked at Fang Xiaoxiao with a face full of fear. "Are you a taboo existence?" Sun Hao asked. "Let him go." Fang Xiaoxiao did not answer Sun Hao, but just repeated what she said before. "What if I don't let him go?" Sun Hao said. "Then, you will become my puppet," Fang Xiaoxiao said. "Really?" Sun Hao smiled coldly and clenched his hands unhurriedly. "No, you dare." Boom! 3 sounds rang out at the same time. The red-haired monster in Sun Hao's hand directly burst into powder and disappeared. The corner of Fang Xiaoxiao's mouth twitched slightly, her eyes were blood-red, and her killing intent soared from her body, shrouding the world. Buzz! She stretched out her finger and pointed forward. Immediately, buzz! Sun Hao and the other 2 flew out uncontrollably and fell heavily to the ground. Boom! The world trembled and dust soared into the sky. A shock wave whistled in all directions with the momentum of toppling mountains and overturning seas. Wherever it went, the mountain range shattered inch by inch. When the sound stopped, a huge pit with a radius of 100 miles appeared in front of everyone. In the huge pit, Sun Hao and the other 2 fell inside, motionless. Seeing this scene, Zhang Tianming and the others' scalp exploded, and their hearts sank. Not good, the young master is injured. What? Even the young master is not an opponent? My God! Has the Dark Age begun? It's over, it's over. The voice of despair kept ringing. Zhang Tianming looked at this scene, and his expression changed. He watched Fang Xiaoxiao walk towards Sun Hao step by step, and he couldn't help but grit his silver teeth and roar, "If you are not afraid of death, charge with me." This sound rose. Hoo! Thousands of bald heads did not hesitate and rushed straight to Fang Xiaoxiao. Under the sunlight, the shiny bald heads emitted dazzling light. On everyone's face there was a firm expression. Fang Xiaoxiao turned her head and glanced at them. Buzz, space seemed to freeze, and everyone's movements stopped abruptly. They seemed to be fixed in cement, unable to move. Is this the strength of the gods? My God, in front of the gods we can't even struggle. No. Don't touch the young master. Come at me if you have the ability. Fang Xiaoxiao, you bastard, kill me first if you have the guts. The roars kept ringing. These voices did not affect Fang Xiaoxiao at all. She kept walking and continued to walk toward Sun Hao. Soon, she stood in front of Sun Hao. Then, she stretched out her right hand and grabbed forward. Sun Hao fell into Fang Xiaoxiao's hands like a dead fish. Chapter 423. No. Hurry up and let go of the young master. If you want to kill someone, kill me. Thunder Tribulation's sovereign fell to the ground and kept roaring. It's useless. She's a deity and she controls the law of space. We don't stand a chance against her. Even if it's the young master, the odds are against him. Six Ears Macaque said. What? Gods? The Thunder Tribulation's sovereign was full of disbelief. Despair gradually appeared on their faces. They looked at Fang Xiaoxiao, roaring and struggling, but to no avail. Sun Hao was controlled by Fang Xiaoxiao. His face was pale, and his breath was like gossamer. He looked like an old man who was about to die. After a long while, he opened his eyes and looked at Fang Xiaoxiao, his expression changing. Who the hell are you? After this sound. Ha! Fang Xiaoxiao threw her head back and laughed wildly. Who am I? You can call me Fang Xiaoxiao, or you can call me Blood Spirit Evil Lord. As soon as these words came out, the faces of the Thunder Tribulation ruler and the others changed dramatically. Fear was written all over their faces. It seemed like they had indeed heard of the Blood Spirit Evil Lord before. What? She's the Blood Spirit Evil Lord, my God. Legend has it that the Blood Spirit Evil Lord is a general under the taboo existence. He has even reached the Emperor God realm. Why is he here? Everyone muttered to themselves, looking at Fang Xiaoxiao with despair on their faces. Fang Xiaoxiao? Blood Spirit Evil Lord? Sun Hao's breath was like a gossamer, and his face was puzzled. Fang Xiaoxiao raised the corner of her mouth and sneered, Godly cunning immortal, it seems that you don't remember at all. Since that's the case, I'll let you die knowing. That's right, you've never seen me before. Back then, I didn't hear your song. I regret it so much. Now it seems that I was right. If I had heard your song, I definitely wouldn't have had this kind of good fortune. He definitely won't devour Venerable Blood Spirit Evil Lord's soul and assimilate his memories. It's even more impossible to restrain you and make you a deity. I am now a deity. I can control the laws of heaven and earth. Fighting with me is the same as fighting against the heavens. You never thought that you would have such a day. And all of you today, you will all become my power. Having said that, Fang Xiaoxiao laughed again. Ha! His voice lingered for a long time, lingering between heaven and earth. That kind of arrogance and complacency was hard to describe with words. When everyone heard this, their hearts sank to hell, and their faces were filled with despair. Suddenly, a peal of laughter sounded. Hearing this, Fang Xiaoxiao's chest stagnated, and her face showed surprise. Looking up, he didn't know when Sun Hao was already standing in front of him. His calm demeanor made him seem like a god-king who controlled everything. He even looked a little weak. How is this possible? Fang Xiaoxiao looked at Sun Hao with a stunned expression. In the next second, her face was filled with shock and panic. Bang! There was an explosion. The power of the law of space that enveloped everyone completely collapsed. Everyone regained their freedom. Fang Xiaoxiao pointed at Sun Hao, her pupils contracted, and her face changed drastically. Sun Hao took a step and appeared in front of Fang Xiaoxiao. The palm looked slow, but it was actually extremely fast. Bang! She slapped Fang Xiaoxiao in the face. A crisp voice resounded in all directions. This slap gave Fang Xiaoxiao a splitting headache. Bang! Her body, like a kite with a broken string, fell straight down and fell heavily to the ground, exploding into dust. The terrifying shock wave, with the momentum of destroying heaven and earth, spread in all directions. However, the shock wave was blocked by a layer of transparent shield, unable to hit the outside world. God? Just like that. Sun Hao stood in the sky with a calm face. He showed weakness just now, just to let her reveal her true face and get some information. It seemed that it was still successful. However, he didn't expect that the gods were so vulnerable in front of him. He could actually defeat a god so easily. He didn't know which divine spirit realm she had reached. Fang Xiaoxiao struggled for a long time before standing up. She looked at Sun Hao, covering her swollen right face, opened her mouth, and didn't say a word. It can be confirmed that there are no fluctuations of divine essence on him. How could he hurt me? Fang Xiaoxiao frowned and began to think. She stood in place, motionless, like a wooden sculpture. Zhang Tianming and others looked at this scene, all opened their mouths wide, and murmured for a long time without saying a word. Heavens! The young master slapped the gods away with one slap? The young master was just showing weakness just now? Young master, what kind of existence are you? Everyone looked at Sun Hao, and their faces were full of astonishment. The light of worship swept over in waves. Everyone's eyes were fixed on Fang Xiaoxiao, motionless. Hey, why doesn't she move? It looks like she's scared? Haha, the gods will have times of fear. The corners of everyone's mouth rose, and they were in a good mood. Suddenly, haha, want to escape? A soft shout resounded through the world. Everyone squinted their eyes, and their pupils shrank, and their faces changed drastically. They saw. In front of Sun Hao, layers of ripples suddenly shook. A woman in a red robe walked out of the ripples. No, it should be said that she was pulled out by an invisible force. Who was this person if not Fang Xiaoxiao? What, to Fang Xiaoxiao? No, the one on the ground should be just a clone. Ancestor, the god who controls the law of space, can't even escape in front of the young master? The realm of the young master is not what we can imagine at all. The color of worship and piety was written on everyone's face. A kind of power that could not be detected by the naked eye surged from them and drilled into Sun Hao's body. Sensing this power, Sun Hao was shocked. He had seen this kind of power. Not long ago, his consciousness entered the statue of Zhongfu Immortal City. At that time, there was a force pouring into his body from the statue. What kind of power is this? Is it the legendary power of faith? What conditions do I need to obtain this power? It doesn't seem to increase my strength much. Sun Hao thought secretly with a puzzled face. After a while, he put aside these thoughts and stared directly at Fang Xiaoxiao. At this moment, Fang Xiaoxiao stood in front of Sun Hao, showing a pitiful look. Young master, I was wrong, please spare my life. If you are willing, I am willing to serve you for a lifetime. The bewitching voice continued to ring out. When it reached people's ears, they had goosebumps all over their bodies. A feeling of numbness surged all over their body. The group of bald heads stared at Fang Xiaoxiao in a daze, and they lost their minds completely. Humph! There was a soft shout. Bang! Fang Xiaoxiao's body flew backward. The charming technique she used disintegrated instantly. Fang Xiaoxiao's face was pale, looking at Sun Hao with a face full of astonishment. You are not a man. Say, why are you here? What is the purpose of arranging the blood-refining heavenly formation? What's in those coffins? What does the soul you devoured have to do with the existence of the taboo? Sun Hao looked at Fang Xiaoxiao and asked a bunch of questions. His cold face was filled with killing intent. As long as Fang Xiaoxiao answered wrongly, she would probably die on the spot immediately. Chapter 424. Haha! Fang Xiaoxiao threw her head back and laughed wildly. She looked at Sun Hao, revealing a resolute look. If you want to kill, then kill, don't say more. If you destroy me, I can still be resurrected. Because I am the blood spirit evil lord. Let me tell you, a taboo existence is not someone you can provoke. Having said that, Feng Xiaoxiao laughed again. That arrogant look was infuriating. In that case, die. These words were like a death sentence for Feng Xiaoxiao. Dead? You have no right to kill me. Only I can kill myself. Ha ha! Feng Xiaoxiao looked up to the sky and laughed. Burning her soul, she broke through Sun Hao's imprisonment and stepped onto the blood-refining heavenly array on the ground. Let's see how many gods you can deal with. Children, wake up! Feng Xiaoxiao shouted loudly. Her body expanded rapidly and exploded in an instant. Howl, the terrifying blood chi whistled through the air as it rapidly entered the remaining 6 ancient bronze coffins. Instantly. Bang! Bang! The ancient bronze coffin shook violently. The lid of the coffin exploded into pieces. One by one, the red-haired skeletons walked out of the bronze coffins. Blood chi gushed out of his body. In an instant it enveloped the world, covering everything within a radius of 1,000 miles. Even from high up in the sky, he could feel the terror of that ruthless aura. Ka-ka, the sound of joints cracking could be heard from within the blood and chi. As these voices rang out, the red-haired skeleton's body rapidly grew larger. In the blink of an eye, they turned into 6 10,000-meter-tall skeletons. Each of the skeletons gave off a metallic luster, making them look indestructible. Buzz, the 6 skeletons stretched out their sky-covering bone claws at the same time, aimed at Sun Hao and pressed them down. The power of 6 types of laws shrouded down. When the Thunder Tribulation Lord and 6-eared macaque saw this scene, their expressions changed drastically. Young Master, be careful! The two shouted at the same time. However, how could he make it in time? Buzz, the sky-covering bone claw, arrived in an instant. It blasted on Sun Hao's body, 5 inches above Sun Hao's head. At this point, the 6 claws could no longer move down. They saw. Under the claw, it was Sun Hao who stretched out a finger. This finger looked very ordinary. However, there was an invisible force on his finger blocking the top of his head. When the 6 skeletons saw this scene, the soul flame in their eye sockets trembled unceasingly. How is this possible? He's immune to all 6 types of laws? Could he be the son of the heavenly Tao? Damn it, this is troublesome. Let's escape. After discussing for a while, the 6 red-haired skeletons came to a unanimous decision. Buzz, they each used their best moves and fled in 6 different directions. One turned into wind, one into rain, one into flowing light, one into flying snow. Their methods were all different. They were about to disappear into thin air. Sun Hao smiled slightly. Hee hee. His laughter wasn't loud, but it was exceptionally frightening. At this moment, the 6 skeletons reverted back to their original forms, and were fixed in the void. This is the end. He is at least a 2nd-stage low-level deity. We are doomed. Damn it, I've just been revived and I've already encountered such an expert. How unlucky! Voices of despair rang out incessantly. They looked at Sun Hao and their soul flames trembled. Senior, please spare my life. I'm willing to become your slave. One of the red-haired skeletons shouted. As soon as these words came out, the other skeletons froze in place, motionless. You don't want to live. We were created by the taboo existence. You can't recognize him as your master at all. Your soul will scatter like this, and the taboo existence will not resurrect you. A few exclamations came from the sky. Sun Hao listened to these, looked at the skeleton begging for mercy, and said, Who is the taboo existence? Where is he? Senior, I don't know. I only know that we were created by the taboo existence. They belong to trash generals, and are not qualified to see the taboo existence at all. However, I know where he lives. Before the words fell. Boom! Some kind of power on the red-haired skeleton detonated, instantly blowing it to pieces. Before Sun Hao could react, boom, boom, 5 explosions sounded one after another. The other 5 red-haired skeletons also exploded and died tragically on the spot. Until death, the 6 red-haired skeletons did not make any sound. Looking at this scene, Sun Hao frowned slightly. He showed a thoughtful look. To be able to blow up 6 gods under his nose, the strength of this taboo existence was not simple. Why was he afraid that he knew where he lived? Could it be that this taboo existence was hiding somewhere and was recovering? When he recovered to his peak, he would find trouble with him. Just now, they said that I am the Son of Heaven? What does this mean? Is the taboo existence not the heavenly Tao, but someone else? The heavenly Tao and the taboo existence are 2 opposing existences? The strength is not weaker than the other party? Sun Hao muttered to himself, frowning. The relationship between the heavenly Tao and the taboo existence still needed to be further verified. Now, although he had the strength to kill gods, he could not be arrogant. He still needed to work hard to find a suitable cultivation method for himself. This was the most important thing at the moment. Thinking of this, Sun Hao nodded secretly. His eyes swept toward the earth, as if he could see through the ground. Let them out first. Sun Hao stretched out his right hand and pointed toward the sky. 9 suns flew out of his fingertips and floated in the sky. Buzz, the 9 suns quickly merged. Soon, it became a sun. Whoosh, the sun fell like rain. Wherever it went, the air was distorted and deformed. It simply could not stand this high temperature. After landing, the earth was gasified by the high temperature and directly evaporated and disappeared. Boom! The blood-refining heavenly array could not withstand this power at all and quickly collapsed. Boom! 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 The sound of explosions continued. The earth quickly evaporated, turned into nothingness, and disappeared. From a distance, it looked like countless earth-swallowing beasts were digging the earth. A moment later, the dazzling golden light came from the ground and went straight to the sky. A golden building with a height of 5,000 meters appeared in front of everyone. The building was shaped like an inverted claw grasping the ground. It looked like a Buddha's hand. What is that? Everyone was full of doubts, staring blankly at the Buddha's hand with a look of consternation. At the moment when everyone was stunned, Buzz, the Buddha's hand trembled. A golden light whistled up, forming a Buddha shadow, standing in front of Sun Hao. The Buddha shadow was full of smiles and gave a Buddhist salute to Sun Hao. Fellow Taoist, we meet again. There is a peerless great demon suppressed below. Please be magnanimous and don't let it out. Otherwise, the heavenly realm will be in chaos, the world will fall into disorder, and the Dark Age will probably start ahead of time. The Buddha shadow looked at Sun Hao, showing a questioning look. The next second, the Buddha shadow's face changed drastically, shouting to the sky, "No!" Chapter 425. Sun Hao looked at the Buddha figure, expressionless. What does the chaos in the heaven realm have to do with me? Sun Hao stretched out his right hand and pressed forward. Seeing Sun Hao's palm pressing down, the Buddha shadow's face changed dramatically, and he waved his hand again and again. Fellow Taoist, stop, listen to me first. However, Buzz, the air trembled, and a transparent palm rapidly arrived, instantly bombarding the Buddha image. No, a shout resounded through the heavens and earth. Kacha, the Buddha image was crushed into nothingness by the palm strike and disappeared. The transparent hand continued to press down, landing on the 6-eared macaque statue. Bang! The seal on the 6-eared macaque statue instantly shattered. Phew! The 6-eared macaque regained its freedom and flew up quickly. It stood in front of Sun Hao and bowed. Thank you, young master. The body turned into a golden light and flew to the back of the 6-eared macaque's head. It turned into a strand of monkey hair and attached itself to the back of his head. The 6-eared macaque looked at Sun Hao with gratitude. Break! Sun Hao let out a soft shout, and the transparent palm floating in the sky continued to press down. Bang! The pentagonal black tower cracked and exploded into powder. Phew! The two souls flew up, stood directly in front of Sun Hao, and bowed. The two souls murmured to themselves, saying words of gratitude that couldn't be heard. After kneeling and kowtowing to Sun Hao 3 times, he stepped into the void and disappeared. Zhang Tianming and the others stared blankly at this scene. It was as if their chests had suffered a heavy blow, and they could not calm down for a long time. That kind of admiration, that kind of shock, that kind of disbelief. It was written all over everyone's face. After a long while, only then did they recover. Seeing Sun Hao's gaze sweeping over, everyone trembled. "Go!" Zhang Tianming shouted softly, leading everyone to move together and fly in front of Sun Hao. Facing Sun Hao, he knelt and saluted. "Greetings, young master." They spoke in unison. Reverence was written all over everyone's faces. Sun Hao looked at these people and nodded slightly. "No need for formalities." "Thank you, young master." Everyone stood up and nodded slightly to show their respect. Sun Hao looked at Zhang Tianming and frowned. After a short while, he realized that this person was the sect master of the Origin Heaven sect, Zhang Tianming. When he came to the northern region, he had given him quite a number of resources. "Zhang Tianming? Why are you here?" Sun Hao asked. "Young master, it's like this." Zhang Tianming walked forward and explained how he joined the Evil Suppressing Alliance and the reason why he came to the Absolute Beginning Mine. Sun Hao listened to this secretly and did not interrupt. When Zhang Tianming finished, Sun Hao opened his mouth. "Soul-sinking divine wood?" He looked at the soul-immersing divine wood branch in Zhang Tianming's hand. "This branch can disperse the malevolent ghosts, and it can even withstand the blood-refining heavenly array?" "Yes, young master." Zhang Tianming presented the branch of the soul-sinking divine wood. Sun Hao took the branch, suddenly raised his eyebrows, and his eyes bloomed. If he remembered correctly, Ru Meng said that the soul-sinking divine wood could grow into a world tree and become a bridge to the universe. In other words, one could travel to the depths of the universe through the soul-sinking divine wood. If the soul-subduing divine wood behind his yard could grow, it might be able to go to the Big Dipper galaxy. Bringing it with him to Rulai's Buddhist kingdom was the safest choice. Thinking like this, Sun Hao secretly made a decision. Then, he looked up at Zhang Tianming and the others, smiling and nodding. "Everyone did a good job. Your courage and responsibility are worthy of praise. You all sit down and listen to my song." Sun Hao looked at the crowd and said. As soon as these words came out, everyone widened their eyes and stood in place. Surprise and disbelief were written all over their faces. That expression was as if they had obtained a treasure. Listening to the young master playing music, they had been fascinated for a long time. They had been working so hard in the hope that one day they could see the young master and listen to the young master play music. Unexpectedly, this time their dream came true. It felt like a dream. It took a long time for them to calm down. They moved quickly and sat cross-legged in the void. Zheng, looking at the fiery eyes of the crowd, Sun Hao nodded slightly. His fingertips plucked the strings, and the melody sounded. The 7-colored divine essence sprang out from his fingertips, rushing like clouds and mist, enveloping everyone in an instant. The 7-colored divine essence penetrated into the body through the pores and flowed throughout the body through the meridians. The divine essence penetrated into the body, cutting hair and washing marrow. The cells of the whole body quickly became active. That kind of numb feeling like an electric shock strongly stimulated the nerve. A burst of comfortable cries resounded through the world. Everyone's face was full of smiles. At this moment, their strength was rapidly increasing. The 6-eared macaque looked at this scene, and his face showed incomparable envy. He stood there, wanting to move but not daring to move. His strength had fallen to the 8th-grade demigod realm. It was far from the peak. If he could swallow some divine essence, it was possible to reach the peak of demigod. However, without the young master's permission, how would he dare? After a while, Sun Hao stopped playing the zither, and his eyes swept to the six-eared macaque. Looking at his eager look, the corner of his mouth raised. Six-eared, don't worry, I have something to ask you, and you can go and swallow it after asking. Hearing this, the six-eared macaque's eyes showed a bright light, and he walked to Sun Hao with an excited face. Young master, if you have any questions, just ask, I will answer all I know, the six-eared macaque said. Sun Hao opened his mouth and asked, listening to you, those were all red demons just now? On the face of the six-eared macaque, there was a look of fear. Young master, those red-haired skeletons just now were not red demons, but the king of red demons. King of red demons? What is this? What does this have to do with green demons? Sun Hao asked. Young master, the king of red demons can be said to be created by the taboo existence, and it is the general of the taboo existence. Source Heavenly Gate cultivation method is the taboo existence, choosing geniuses among hundreds of millions of human cultivators to become the king of red demons. As for the green demons, they are just servants of the taboo existence, and they can't be compared with the king of red demons at all, the six-eared macaque said. Listening to this, Sun Hao frowned and thought. The doubt on his face grew stronger and stronger. He looked at the six-eared macaque and continued to ask, what does the blood spirit, evil spirit, that Fang Xiaoxiao swallowed have to do with the taboo existence? I don't know what the specific relationship is. However, it must be at least a general. In ancient times, ordinary god-emperors were not his opponents. The six-eared macaque said. God-emperor? The realm above the god-king? Sun Hao asked. No, young master, above the god-king is the supreme god, and above the supreme god is the god-emperor, the six-eared macaque said. Sun Hao nodded slightly, revealing a thoughtful look. Who was that taboo existence? Just how powerful was his cultivation level? A general was the god-emperor. Then, wasn't he above the god-emperor? Otherwise, why would the blood spirit, evil spirit listen to him? The more he thought about it, the more cautious Sun Hao's expression became. He felt as if he was trapped in a quagmire, unable to extricate himself. All of this was like a shocking conspiracy shrouding his heart. There were too many secrets in this world. He was afraid that the system he obtained was also deliberately done by someone. The more he thought about it, the more afraid he was. The most important thing now was to go to the Shadow Realm first. Young master, can I go and absorb the divine essence? The six-eared macaque looked at Sun Hao with a look of anticipation. Both of you go. Thank you, young master. The Thunder Tribulation Sovereign and the six-eared macaque were full of gratitude. They quickly flew into the crowd and began to absorb the seven-colored divine essence. Chapter 426. Somewhere in the heaven realm, the mist was heavy and multicolored light was spewing out. Amidst the auspicious purple aura, 2 rows of pillars extended into the distance. Each pillar was engraved with the image of a strange beast. There was a dragon, a phoenix, a qilin, a blue bird. Each of the strange beasts seemed to be trying to break free from the shackles of the pillars. At the end of the pillar, a temple stood in the air. Above the temple, golden light flowed, shining brilliantly. The majestic Buddhist aura spread out in all directions, causing one to have the urge to worship it. In the temple, a large Buddha sat cross-legged on the main seat, his eyes closed in contemplation. In front of him stood the 4 great bodhisattvas and the 10 vajras. 3,000 Buddhas filled the entire hall. The square outside the temple was filled with tens of thousands of arhats. Some were kneeling, some were praying, some were standing, and some were squatting. Each of them had a disk of Buddhist light behind them. At this moment, all of them had their eyes closed and were deep in thought. The Buddha's radiance shone, and his appearance was solemn. Buzz, suddenly, the Buddha opened his eyes, and the entire world rumbled. At this moment, all the Buddhas opened their eyes and looked at the great Buddha with sincerity. The power of faith is weakening. Something is happening in the Buddhist nation, the great Buddha murmured as golden light flowed in his eyes. He pinched his fingers and calculated with a solemn expression. Buddha, did something happen? A bodhisattva asked. The faith in the Buddhist nation has deteriorated. Vermin have invaded. 2 waves of parasites have invaded. One of them is formed by the remnant soul of the Hui, and the other is shrouded by a mysterious aura that I can't figure out. I'm afraid these 2 forces will be detrimental to the Buddhist kingdom. At this point, the great Buddha looked at another Buddha. Venerable Anu. The great Buddha said, Buddha. The Buddha walked forward, put his palms together, and bowed. There has been a change in the Buddhist nation. I would like to trouble you to descend to the lower realm and investigate. The great Buddha said. Yes, Buddha. Venerable Anu answered. Remember, the immeasurable tribulation is about to begin, and the age of darkness will descend once more. To ensure the prosperity of Buddhism, the Buddhist nation is of utmost importance. Right now, the path of Buddha is opening. What you need to do is to ensure that the path of Buddhism is not disturbed by vermin. Do you understand? Said the Buddha. As you command, Buddha. With that, supremacy Anua floated away. Buddha, will supremacy Anua alone be enough? Asked a bodhisattva. The Buddhist nation has experienced the Dark Age and is on the verge of collapse. It can't withstand too much power. Everything has its own destiny, we just need to be calm and collected. Said the great Buddha. Yes, sir. All the great Buddhas bowed together. Pegasus Galaxy, Pegasus Planet. In a dazzling golden temple, a golden-robed youth was sitting cross-legged in front of a Buddha statue, mumbling something. Nibunin Reef, lines of scripture slowly flew out of his mouth and circled around his head. An ancient Buddha formed above the golden-robed youth's head. The ancient Buddha sat cross-legged on the head of the golden-robed youth with its palms pressed together, looking dignified and extraordinary. When this happened, the eyes of the monks standing in the hall lit up. Admiration was written all over his face. Young Master Wu Hong is indeed formidable. Yeah, he actually managed to condense the golden body of the Buddhist Tao. I'm afraid it won't be difficult for him to obtain a Buddhist throne in the future. Of course, among the human race, how many Buddhists can compare with young Master Wu Hong? I heard that young Master Wu Hong is not even 5,000 years old. What? Not even 5,000 years old, and he has condensed a golden body, oh my God! Everyone looked at the golden-robed youth in surprise. That expression was as if they were looking at the arrival of the Buddha. After a long time, the golden-robed youth opened his eyes, stood up, and bowed to the group of monks in a Buddhist greeting. A spring breeze-like smile emitted from his face, making people feel comfortable all over. Young Master Wu. At this moment, a white-bearded old monk walked forward. Greetings, Abbot. The golden-robed youth was polite. Young Master Wu, you are too polite. Although you are a layman disciple, your attainments in Buddhism are far inferior to mine. In 2 days, the Buddhist nation's passage will open. Are you ready? Said the old monk. Abbot, I am ready. The golden-robed youth nodded slightly. Hearing this, the old monk stroked his long beard with a satisfied look. Deep in the universe, in a certain space, a woman in a blue dress sat cross-legged on the ground, her hands constantly forming seals. Buzz, a series of golden dragon projections began to circle around her. These golden dragons quickly merged, and the phantoms gradually became solid. After a while, a golden dragon formed and kept moving on the woman's fingertip. Howl, every roar of the golden dragon would shake the space and distort it as if it was about to break apart. The blue-veiled woman looked at this scene, her golden eyes bloomed with a strange light. It's done. She raised the corner of her mouth and reached out to touch a dragon horn on the top of her head. The golden dragon drilled into it and disappeared. The path of Buddhism is about to open. This time, I must get a Buddhist position. Father, I will go to the Buddhist nation to get the Buddhist position first. The blue-veiled woman took out a communication jade slip, sent the message, and put it away. Buzz, the blue-veiled woman's figure flashed and instantly disappeared. Scenes like this were happening all over the mortal realm and the universe. All the demigods who cultivated Buddhism came out one after another. A storm of dragons and tigers was about to be staged in the Buddhist nation Xiang Star, east of the Tianluo continent, hundreds of thousands of kilometers away. Here, there is a vast and boundless continent called the Elysium. In the center of the continent there is a mountain range called Mount Meru. On this day, over Mount Meru, the sky shook with layers of ripples, and 3 figures walked out of the ripples and stood over Mount Meru. These 3 people were Sun Hao, Thunder Tribulation Lord, and Six-Eared Macaque. They looked at Mount Meru with puzzled faces. Strange, how come a bald donkey is fine? Six-Eared Macaque scratched his head and said, Six-Eared, did you bring me to the wrong place? Thunder Tribulation Lord said, How is it possible? I can sense my other body just below. Six-Eared Macaque said, Then why did all the bald donkeys here disappear? Thunder Tribulation Lord asked. How would I know? Six-Eared Macaque said, Okay. Sun Hao waved his hand, and the 2 immediately stopped quarreling. Sun Hao's eyes swept to Mount Meru as if he could see through the ground. Six-Eared is right, it is indeed below. After speaking, Sun Hao stretched out his finger and pointed to the sky. Whoosh, 9 suns, rushing straight to the sky, quickly merged into one. The sun shone down, covering Mount Meru. At this moment, whoosh, everything on Mount Meru evaporated quickly. Very soon, a Buddha's hand covered the earth, standing proudly on Mount Meru. Under the Buddha's hand, the 6-eared macaque statue was suppressed. After the hand was just revealed, a Buddha statue phantom went straight up and stood in front of Sun Hao in an instant. Fellow Taoist, you and I meet again, the words were not finished. The face of the Buddha statue phantom changed dramatically. Looking at Sun Hao's outstretched finger, he waved his hand again and again. Fellow Taoists, don't. No. The Buddha statue phantom quickly burst apart. The shouting stopped abruptly. Boom, the seal of the 6-eared macaque statue exploded. The clone soared into the sky, turned into a monkey hair, and returned to the back of the 6-eared macaque's head. Boom, the pentagonal black tower exploded, and 2 soul phantoms whistled up and stood in front of Sun Hao. Looking at these 2 soul phantoms, Sun Hao's face showed surprise and doubt. Chapter 427. The 2 soul phantoms standing in front of Sun Hao. One was in the form of a dragon, and the other was in the form of a human. Sun Hao stared directly at the dragon-shaped soul phantom. Sun Hao could confirm that this dragon-shaped phantom was fundamentally different from the dragon souls he had seen. Or rather, they were not on the same level at all. Thank you, Senior. The 2 phantoms bowed at the same time. Although there was no sound, he could tell from their mouths that they were thanking him. Go! Sun Hao waved his hand. The 2 figures pierced through the void and disappeared. Lu Er, what is Ao Lai's identity? Sun Hao asked. Young master, Ao Lai is a heaven realm divine dragon. Everyone thinks that he is the 3rd prince of the West Sea Divine Dragon King. Actually, that's not the case. It's because he possesses the bloodline of the dragon god that the West Sea Divine Dragon King secretly adopted him. I'm planning to take his dragon god bloodline after he grows up. However, the Divine Dragon King of the West Ocean never expected that someone would know about this. He was afraid that the matter would be exposed, so he joined forces with Old Man Tathagata to rob Ao Lai of his bloodline in advance. However, the bloodline can be seized, but the soul is difficult. Even if Old Man Rulai exhausted all his methods, he still couldn't destroy Ao Lai's soul. Old Man Rulai was afraid of karma, So he banished Aolai to the mortal realm and transformed into a white horse to go to the Western paradise to obtain scriptures. From there, we can resolve the Buddhist kingdom's calamity. Six-eared macaque said. Hearing this, Sun Hao was secretly surprised. Unexpectedly, this matter was not as simple as it seemed. The West Ocean Divine Dragon King and Tathagata were simply too shameless. What happened to the benevolent heart? Everything was just profit. Hexaear, how do you know so much? The lightning tribulation ruler said. Hee, don't you know who this old sun is? I am a monkey that doesn't belong to the 10 species of chaos. I know the future, understand the cause and effect, and understand all living things. This is my innate ability. Six Ears Macaque said. So powerful? Then why don't you tell me where Tathagata Buddha is? The lightning tribulation sovereign said. This six-eared macaque's expression froze. He scratched his head and ears, then pointed at Thunder Tribulation Dominator and bared his teeth. Damn fatty, if my demonic energy hadn't been seized by Old Man Rulai, how could I not know? If you can't, then so be it. You! Alright. Sun Hao smiled and shook his head, and the two stopped arguing. Lu Er, in that case, Buddha knew that you knew these things and was afraid that you would tell the world, so he sealed you up? Sun Hao asked. Yes, young master. This old man Rulai is just too shameless. Don't be fooled by his laughter. He's a man who stabs people in the back. Mister, when you see him, you must not believe what he says. Six-ear macaque said. I understand. Sun Hao nodded. Everything was not as simple as it seemed on the surface. Everything was for the sake of profit. Where is the entrance to the Buddha kingdom? Sun Hao asked. Young master, he's at Mount Lingshan. Bring me there. Yes, young master. Passing through the void, the three of them arrived above the spirited mountain. Looking at the scene before him, his face was filled with doubt. The top of the mountain was dead silent. There was no sign of anyone living there. The temples were covered in a layer of dust. They had not been cleaned for at least half a month. What's going on? Sun Hao asked. Mister, I don't know either. Six-ear macaque said. Don't you know everything? Why don't you know this? Thunder Retribution Lord said sarcastically. I, old Sun, can only understand the past, not the past. How can I know? Six-ear macaque said. Then are you sure this is the entrance to the Buddha kingdom? Sun Hao asked. Mister, I can absolutely confirm it. Six-ear macaque nodded and promised. Sun Hao frowned, showing a thoughtful look. In the entire Elysium, he did not find Luo Luyen and the others, nor did he find Ning Mingji and the others. Did they all go to the Buddha kingdom? Sun Hao's mind moved and began to use the Karma Dao. After a while, Sun Hao withdrew the Dao, showing a touch of caution on his face. There is no karma left in these places. To have such means, it seems that the strength is by no means simple. Is it Tathagata's doing, or the taboo existence's doing? Or Tathagata is the taboo existence? Sun Hao thought secretly, frowning tighter and tighter. Uneasiness was written all over his face. I can't find any trace of the entrance here. It seems to be hidden. Is it another taboo existence that prevents me from going to the Buddha kingdom? Thinking like this, Sun Hao's mind moved, and his consciousness sank into the soul space. Looking at the rapidly growing soul-sinking divine wood, the corners of his mouth rose. Master, you are here? Sensing Sun Hao's consciousness, the soul-sinking divine wood transformed into a human form and flew in front of Sun Hao's consciousness body. I want to ask you for some help. Someone erased the space teleportation entrance. Can you help me find it? Sun Hao asked. Master, you mean the teleportation entrance of the Buddha kingdom? Soul-sinking divine wood asked. Yes. Sun Hao nodded. Please wait a moment. After the soul-sinking divine wood finished speaking, it changed into its original appearance. Its branches and leaves quickly grew to tens of thousands of meters high, extremely huge. However, compared with the 9-colored round stone in Sun Hao's soul space, it was like fine sand in a planet. There was no comparison at all. On the soul-sinking divine wood, a pale green light lit up. These rays of light flew out from Sun Hao's eyebrows and enveloped the entire sky above the spiritual mountain. After a while, these pale green rays dissipated. In the soul space, the soul-sinking divine wood transformed into a human form and walked to Sun Hao. "Master, I can't do anything to find it." "Even you can't?" Sun Hao was surprised. "Master, this technique is definitely not done by an ordinary god. The traces erased by that kind of existence are not something I can find now," soul-sinking divine wood said. Sun Hao looked bitter. "Is there no other way?" "Master, unless I grow into a world tree," soul-sinking divine wood said. "Then how long do you need?" Sun Hao asked. "Master, in 10 years at least, 20 years at most, you will definitely grow into a world tree," soul-sinking divine wood said. 20 years? Sun Hao nodded slightly. Grow as soon as possible." "Yes, Master." Soul-sinking divine wood quickly flew to the vicinity of the huge 9-colored round stone, changed into its original form, stretched its branches and leaves, and spread between heaven and earth. Sun Hao walked to Huang Ruming's crystal coffin and stroked the lid of the crystal coffin. "Ruming, don't worry, I will definitely resurrect you." After a long time, Sun Hao stood up. On his face, there was a touch of firmness. The person behind this was extremely not simple. First, he destroyed the Great Array, and then he was prevented from entering the Buddha kingdom. Even the world tree in the Jade Lake Palace was pulled out by someone. "No matter who you are, when I find you, I will make your soul fly away and scatter." Sun Hao secretly clenched his fists, and his killing intent rose. Withdrawing his emotions, Sun Hao's consciousness returned to his body. Just sitting down cross-legged. Kacha, a thunderclap sounded. In the sky, a crack spread. Seeing this scene, Sun Hao's eyes widened, and his face was full of surprise. The entrance of the Buddha kingdom? Chapter 428. Tathagata Buddhist Kingdom, above a sea of sand. 3 figures appeared out of thin air. It was Sun Hao and the other two. The 3 of them slowly landed. On the sandy ground, the heat was scalding his body, causing him pain. Sun Hao looked at the golden sea of sand and couldn't help but frown. Every grain of sand here was evenly distributed, as if they were carved from a mold. Sun Hao released his divine sense. With him as the center, his divine sense spread in all directions in a ball. After reaching 1,000 miles, his divine sense seemed to be under a terrifying pressure, and it was difficult for him to go any further. "What's happening here? In this Tathagata Buddhist country, my divine will can only sweep a meter. It's better to use my eyes," Lightning Tribulation Sovereign said. "You can't compare to me, old son, right? My divine telekinesis and golden gaze fiery eyes can scan up to 10 meters away." 6 Ears Macaque raised his head proudly. Sun Hao looked at the 2 guys and shook his head for a while. "Let's go." Sun Hao found a direction, took the Thunder Tribulation ruler and the other 2, and stepped forward. Although it seemed slow, each step covered 100 miles. The 3 figures instantly disappeared. Along the way, there was only a vast sea of sand and no living beings. It was as if the 3 of them were the only ones in the world. "Lu Er, how big is the Tathagata Buddhist kingdom?" Sun Hao asked. "Young master, it is unimaginably big. The surface area alone is the size of 100,000 purple suns." 6-eared Macaque said. 100,000 purple sun stars? Sun Hao looked surprised. 100,000 violet sun stars. This Tathagata Buddhist country was indeed huge. I wonder where he is right now? The most important thing right now was naturally to find the spatial passageway leading to the Big Dipper galaxy. If he could find someone to ask, he wouldn't have to fly around aimlessly. "Lu Er, do you know the space passage to the Big Dipper galaxy?" Sun Hao asked. Young master, this is the first time I come here. I don't know. Six-ear macaque said. Then let's find a place with people and ask. Sun Hao said. Mister, I'm afraid it's not appropriate for us to look like this. Six-ears macaque said. What? Young master, this is the Rulai Buddhist country. Those who can enter this place are all people who cultivate the Buddhist Tao. If we go to places with a lot of people like this, people will definitely notice us. It will be inappropriate to ask you for information. Six-eared macaque said. That makes sense. Sun Hao nodded slightly and pointed with his right hand. Three forces flew out from his fingertips and enveloped the three of them. The three of them were transforming at a speed visible to the naked eye. In less than a moment, the three of them had turned into three monks. They looked like accomplished monks, inspiring reverence in the hearts of others. Young master's transformation path is also terrifying. My eyes of fire and gold can't see anything. I don't need you to praise who the young master is. All right, let's go. The three of them strode forward, traversing hundreds of miles with each step. They walked for about half a day. The three of them stopped in their tracks and looked at the monk in a kasaya before them. A hint of surprise flashed in their eyes. The monk quickly walked forward and bowed to the three of them. Masters, may I know where you are from? Sun Hao smiled slightly and pointed behind him. The monk looked in the direction of Sun Hao's finger. His pupils contracted, and his face showed incomparable worship. Greetings, master. Masters, looking at your clothes, you must be from the mortal realm. Puhui monk asked. And Sun Hao nodded slightly with an unfathomable look. Master, I am also from the mortal realm. Little monk's Dharma name is Puhui. May I know the three masters' Dharma names? Puhui monk asked. Poor monk Dharma Tian. Sun Hao said. Little monk Dharma Ear. Little monk Dharma Ao. Three masters, are you going to enter the Buddhist road? Puhui asked. Sun Hao smiled slightly and did not answer directly. Instead, he looked at Puhui and said, Master Puhui, what about you? Me. Puhui smiled and shook his head. Three masters, this little monk's cultivation is shallow and not qualified to enter the Buddhist road. Master Puhui, even you are not qualified? Sun Hao pretended to be surprised. Puhui smiled bitterly. This little monk has not even condensed a Buddhist seal, let alone condense a golden body. Master Fantian, your temperament is outstanding, and your body is surrounded by Buddha Chi. Presumably, you have condensed a golden body, right? Puhui asked. Sun Hao raised the corner of his mouth and answered directly. Looking at Sun Hao's expression, Puhui's heart thumped, and her pupils contracted violently. Unexpectedly, Master Fantian had condensed a golden body. It was really not simple. Stepping on the Buddhist road and obtaining the Buddha position, there must be no problem. I can actually see such a person. If I can make friends with him, he may help me after winning the Buddha position. This kind of good fortune, how can I miss it? Thinking like this, Puhui secretly made a decision. Master Fantian, why don't we go together? Is that okay? That's exactly what I mean. Sun Hao nodded. Thank you, Master Fantian. Puhui looked excited. No, this poor monk has just come here and doesn't know much about this place. Please give me some advice, Master Puhui. Sun Hao said. Master Fantian, I don't dare to give advice. Whatever I know, I will definitely answer without fail. Master Fantian, look over there. Puhui pointed in a direction and said, Go in this direction and walk about 200,000 kilometers, and you can reach Ma City. Ma City? Sun Hao was puzzled. Master Fantian, this Buddhist road only opens once in 100 years. The three realms are so big, and there are countless Buddhist geniuses. Every time the Buddhist road opens, the Buddha kingdom will gather hundreds of millions of Buddhist geniuses. The Buddhist road naturally can't accommodate so many people, so it can only be screened, and this Ma City is one of the screening places. Pu Hui said. Hearing this, Sun Hao nodded secretly. Okay, let's go to Ma City together. Okay, Master Fantion. Pu Hui nodded and led the way. Just taking a step, Pu Hui looked back and found that Sun Hao and the others had already disappeared. This, Pu Hui froze in place, dumbfounded. Isn't this Master Fantion too powerful? This Tathagata Buddhist land can actually use earth shrinking. It seems that not only condensed the golden body, but also cultivated the magical power of Buddhism. Pu Hui murmured. When she looked up, she found that Sun Hao and the others had returned to her side again. Master Pu Hui, why don't you come with us? Thank you, Master Fantion. As soon as she finished speaking, a strange force enveloped Pu Hui's body and took her away in an instant. 100 miles in one step, my God! Master Fantion is so powerful! Pu Hui's face was full of amazement, and the color of worship was written all over her face. After a few steps, Sun Hao stopped. It's too slow, I'll take you with me. These words were like thunder in Pu Hui's mind. Her heart beat violently, and for a while it was difficult to calm down. In this Buddha kingdom, 100 miles in one step was simply 1 in a million. Where was this speed slow? At this rate, they could reach Ma City in an hour. Could it be that Master Fantion wanted to break the space? How could this be possible? This idea had just taken shape. Gotcha! The sound of space cracking sounded. Before Pu Hui could react, she was rolled up by a force, taken into the void, and disappeared. Chapter 429. Wine and meat pass through the intestines, but Buddha stays in the heart. A fat monk walked on the street, holding a big chicken leg in his hand, gnawing his mouth full of grease. The fat monk patted his big belly with a satisfied look. Evil creature, you have violated my Buddhist precepts, and you still have the face to wear a Buddhist robe? A white-browed monk pointed at the fat monk and said bitterly, My Buddhist precepts? Can you represent Buddhism? The fat monk said, You! The white-browed monk's chest stagnated, and he had nothing to say. The two of them quarreled and soon attracted a group of onlookers. The onlookers were dressed differently, and most of them were monks. What you? This was passed down by Buddha enlightened. The fat monk had a proud look on his face. Nonsense, Buddha enlightened? I think he is a demon who drinks and eats meat. How can he be a Buddhist disciple? The white-browed monk said, Old man, I think you are the demon. At this time, another monk stood up. This monk, holding a bowl of wine, was drunk, and staggered as if he was about to fall but didn't fall. He looked like a roly-poly doll. Buddha enlightened said that as long as there is kindness in the heart and kindness in the action, it is kindness. Unlike you, benevolent on the surface, harming people with a knife in the dark. I think you are the demon. The drunken monk said, Rebellious, you demons, don't even think about participating in the Buddhist road election. The white-browed monk said, Ha ha! The fat monk and the drunken monk laughed and shook their heads repeatedly. Who cares? Cultivation. One must cultivate to be carefree, to cultivate to be happy. This can't be done, that can't be done, then what's the use of cultivation? Buddha enlightened said that all things in the world, the weak are prey to the strong, this is the law of heaven. The law of heaven can't be violated, why should we go against heaven? Free and unfettered life, happy life, isn't it happy? The two gradually went away. Everyone looked at their backs, revealing a thoughtful look. In the crowd, Sun Hao stood in place, showing a strange face. Didn't these words say by himself? How did it become what Buddha enlightened said? Ning Mingji's Buddhist name seemed to be enlightened. Could it be that all this was said by him? From the looks of it, it must be so. Sun Hao nodded secretly, and his divine sense swept out, covering the entire city. However, he did not find Ning Mingji and the others. Not in the city? Forget it, I'll look for them in the future. What I need to do now is to figure out the situation first, Then find out the location of the portal to the Heavenly Dipper Galaxy. Sun Hao thought secretly and moved forward. Master Fa, what those two people said just now is very reasonable. Pu Hui's eyes lit up as if she had comprehended many things. Hearing this, Sun Hao was slightly taken aback. This fellow's comprehension wasn't bad. It does make some sense. Sun Hao nodded slightly. Master Fatian, do you think so too? Pu Hui's face was filled with complicated emotions. You don't even agree with what you said? From the looks of it, Pu Hui was a seedling that was worth cultivating. Pu Hui, do you want to participate in the Buddha Road competition? Sun Hao asked. Yes. Pu Hui nodded without hesitation. Then, she waved her hands. Master Fantian, don't embarrass yourself with my cultivation. Come with me. Sun Liangtian smiled faintly and walked forward. Master Fantian, what are you doing? Pu Hui looked puzzled. Don't worry, you'll know soon. Under Sun Hao's lead, the three walked into an inn. After settling down, Sun Hao stretched out his finger and pointed forward. A transparent ripple spread in a ball shape, covering the entire room in an instant. The entire room was isolated from other people's spiritual senses, and it was impossible to see. Master Fantian, this method is simply... Pu Hui's eyes widened and she was shocked. Sit cross-legged. Sun Hao said. Yes, master. Despite her doubts, Pu Hui still sat down according to Sun Hao's request. Pervert, Sun Hao muttered something in his mouth, and the scriptures, under Sun Hao's control, flew quickly toward Pu Hui like golden butterflies. In the blink of an eye, Pu Hui was enveloped. These scriptures, with special Buddhist power, condensed into a Buddha seal, and submerged into Pu Hui's body in turn. I condensed a Buddha seal? Am I dreaming? Pu Hui's eyes widened, and her two eyes looked at her eyebrows like a cross-eyed. The color of disbelief was written all over her face. With a thought, the Buddha seal flew from her eyebrows and floated in front of Pu Hui. The dazzling golden light enveloped the entire room. The shocking power was contained in the Buddha seal. Pu Hui could confirm that if she used this Buddha seal, it would be no problem to destroy a 5th-grade demigod. In the moment when Pu Hui was stunned, another Buddha seal flew and drilled into the top of the skull. The Buddha seal between her eyebrows and the Buddha seal on the top of the skull seemed to be activated, and there was a kind of superimposed power. Now, I'm afraid it's not a problem to destroy a 6th-grade demigod. Pu Hui muttered to herself, her heart was like being hit by the waves, and she couldn't calm down for a long time. However, left arm, left hand, left palm, one Buddha seal after another drilled into Pu Hui's body. There were a total of 108 Buddha seals, protecting all the important acupoints of the body. These Buddha seals, bound to each other, stimulated a shocking power. It was still impossible to determine how strong she was now. The scriptures continued to fly, enveloping Pu Hui's entire body. His fleshly body was changing rapidly. His body emitted golden light, getting brighter and brighter. Finally, it was so bright that people couldn't open their eyes. This is a golden body, my God. My golden body is by no means ordinary. Now I am absolutely qualified to fight for a Buddha position. Pu Hui sat cross-legged on the ground, sensing the changes in his body, clenching his fists excitedly. After a long time, he slowly opened his eyes. He looked at Sun Hao as if he was looking at a Buddha. Worship, awe, gratitude, all kinds of emotions, constantly intertwined on his face. The means of heavenly law master, no, heavenly law Buddha was simply unimaginable. Heavenly law Buddha must have descended from the heavenly realm. It was all thanks to heavenly law Buddha that he was able to cultivate. This kindness could never be repaid. Thank you, heavenly law Buddha. Pu Hui knelt in front of Sun Hao and kowtowed. That kind of piety was indescribable in words. A power of faith rushed from the top of Pu Hui's head and drilled into Sun Hao's body. It seems that this must be the power of faith. Sun Hao nodded secretly. Get up! Thank you, Buddha! Pu Hui looked at Sun Hao with an excited face. Here, you should still call me master. Since you have entered my sect, you must carry forward my Buddhism. Sun Hao said. Buddha, master, this disciple will remember. Pu Hui nodded heavily. Go and sign up. Remember, you must take a Buddha position, don't insult my name. Sun Hao said. Yes, master, this disciple will leave. Leaving the inn, Pu Hui's face bloomed with a strange light. Buddha's means are unimaginable. Pu Hui took a few long breaths before calming down. He took a step and walked quickly to the registration place. Chapter 430. In a tea house. The road to Buddhism is about to open. Who do you think will win the right to enter the city? It's hard to say. There are so many people in the city, and there are only 10 slots. Who knows who will be qualified? Others might not dare to say, but this penniless monk can confirm one person. A monk with thick eyebrows stood up and said confidently. Who made you so sure? The thick-browed monk smiled faintly. That's naturally young Master Wu Hong. As soon as these words came out, the entire tea house fell into dead silence. The expressions on everyone's faces kept changing, but most of them were astonished. What? Did young Master Wu Hong come to this city? Are you kidding me? What kind of identity does young Master Wu Hong have? He is the son of the Vice Alliance Master of the Human World Cultivator Alliance, Wu Tai. How could he come to Ma Cheng? It's said that young Master Wu Hong has already condensed the golden body. If such a figure were to participate in the competition, he would definitely choose a large city. How could he possibly come to this small city? Voices of doubt rang out continuously. When the thick-browed monk heard this, he only smiled slightly and did not answer. After the discussion ended, the thick-browed monk continued to speak. I don't know the exact reason, but I saw young Master Wu Hong with my own eyes. That aura makes people want to worship him with just a glance. Young Master Wu Hong is really too handsome. The monk's voice became softer and softer. Those who heard it couldn't help but tremble, and goosebumps covered their bodies. Sun Hao sat not far away, listening to these discussions and nodded slightly. From the looks of it, he must be a young master of an aristocratic family who came here to gain experience. Such a person must know a lot. It should be easy to find out where the Heavenly Dipper Galaxy's teleportation formation was. Thinking like this, Sun Hao was about to release his divine senses to find Wu Hong's location. At this moment, big news, big news! A series of exclamations came from the door. Soon, a green-clothed man ran to the second floor. What big event? Why are you in such a hurry? Let me tell you, there are 3 godly cultivation techniques on the path of Buddhism. As long as you set foot on the path of Buddhism, they will belong to whoever finds them. These words were like a stone that stirred up 1,000 ripples. The entire scene instantly exploded. Everyone widened their eyes in excitement. A god-level cultivation technique was hard to find even if one had 1,000,000 gold coins. Unexpectedly, there were actually 3 of them this time. It was only a matter of time before he obtained a deity seat. There's actually a god-tier cultivation technique. I'm going to register. Come on, our city only has 10 places. Do you think you can do it with your meager skills? We still have to give it a try. Sun Hao's eyes lit up when he heard this. Since there was a deity-tier cultivation technique, then he had to try his luck on the path of Buddhism. However, with my current formation skills, no one should be able to stop me. I don't need to register, I can just participate. Thinking like this, Sun Hao secretly made a decision. Zhang Xian released his divine sense and enveloped the entire city. Suddenly, his brows furrowed and a thoughtful expression appeared on his face. Phew, son, how took Thunder Tribulation ruler and six-eared macaque and disappeared instantly. In a public square in Maching, a large group of people gathered together and pointed inside. It really is young Master Wu Hong, so handsome. I didn't expect him to be so handsome even when he's scolding people. I want to renounce asceticism. If I can become young Master Wu Hong's Tao companion, I will have no regrets in this life. Many female monks looked at Wu Hong, their eyes flickering with excitement. They saw, among the crowd, a handsome young man looked at the two monks in front of him, frowning slightly with a look of boredom on his face. This young man was the Wu Hong everyone was talking about. As a monk, you don't follow the rules and precepts. For your own appetite, you kill indiscriminately. What should you do? Wu Hong pointed at the two monks and shouted angrily. Good. The onlookers applauded one after another. The fat monk took a bite of the chicken leg, looked at Wu Hong and smiled coldly. What should I do? Are you the great Buddha or the Buddha? Are you in charge of this matter? Wu Hong's face changed slightly, and he was speechless for a while. However, he quickly returned to normal. He showed a calm expression and smiled at the fat monk. I am naturally not the Buddha. Of course, I can't be the great Buddha. How can the Buddha manage such a small matter? You have violated the precepts set by the Buddha, and the entire Buddhist sect has the right to manage. If you don't accept it, get out of the Buddha's kingdom immediately. Wu Hong's voice, blessed by a secret method, echoed over the square for a long time and did not dissipate. This voice, with a bewitching power, flew to everyone. Immediately. Young Master Wu Hong is right. Breaking the precepts of killing, disregarding living beings, how can this kind of person stay in the Buddha's kingdom? We should throw him into the turbulence of the universe. Voices of blame constantly sounded. Surrounded by thousands of people, the fat monk's face showed timidity, and the hand holding the chicken leg trembled slightly. He wanted to retreat, and squeezed into the crowd with the drunken monk. I rarely pay attention to you. Humph, breaking the precepts and still want to leave. Dare to insult young Master Wu Hong? Don't even think about leaving today. A group of people pointed at the fat monk and began to curse. The entire square was so packed that it was impossible for the two monks to leave. We are believers of the enlightened great Buddha. Quickly get out of the way, otherwise don't blame this poor monk for being impolite. The fat monk said angrily. Impolite, how impolite? Nonsense. He broke the precepts again. How can this kind of scum stay? Many people were eager to try and were ready to rush forward. Humph. The fat monk snorted coldly and released his aura. A Buddhist seal gushed out from the top of his head and enveloped his whole body. A wave of pressure whistled in all directions. Bang! Many onlooking Buddhist cultivators fell in all directions like fairies scattering flowers. Ouch! He fell to the ground, screaming again and again. In a Buddhist place, he actually dared to hurt people. This kind of demon should be executed on the spot. Yes. Young Master Wu Hong, please make a move. Young Master Wu Hong, you are kind-hearted and compassionate. However, this kind of demon can't be left in this world to harm people. Voices of blame constantly sounded. Everyone surrounded Wu Hong, asking him to fight. Wu Hong stood in place, revealing a difficult expression. He waved his hand. Fellow Taoists, I am also a Buddhist cultivator. We are fellow disciples. How can we kill fellow disciples like this? Young Master Wu Hong, how can the two of them be worthy of the two words fellow disciples? They are demons, not killing to appease the anger of the people. Even the Buddhist guards in the city, at this moment, also turned a blind eye. For all this, regardless, Wu Hong's peripheral vision swept over the Buddhist guards, the corners of his mouth raised into a faint sneer. After repeatedly refusing, to no avail, Wu Hong stood up. He looked at the fat monk and the other, revealing a dignified expression. You too, do you plead guilty? Plead your mother. An irritable voice rang out. Immediately after, the fat monk held the Buddhist seal in his hand and pounced straight at Wu Hong. Chapter 431. Good timing! The corner of Wu Hong's mouth rose. Without dodging, he stretched out his hand and slapped at the fat monk. In the process of slapping, Wu Hong's palm turned golden. Golden body, oh my god! Young Master Wu Hong actually condensed a golden body. Too strong, too powerful. I'm afraid there will be a seat for young Master Wu Hong in this Buddhist road. Exclamations sounded continuously. The surrounding crowd all stared at Wu Hong. Admiration was written all over their faces. Puff! A crisp sound rang out. The fat monk's body flew out like a kite with a broken string, heavily hitting the ground. Puff! A mouthful of blood was spat out from his mouth. The fat monk struggled to stand up, pointing at Wu Hong, his face full of anger. Wu Hong looked at the fat monk, slightly startled. Not dead? How is this possible? He was very clear how much power he used. Even if it was a grade 5 demigod, it would not be a problem. And he was only a grade 1 demigod, how could he withstand it? I don't believe it. Wu Hong smiled coldly, step by step walking towards the fat monk, at the same time, secretly drawing out 10% of his power. This time, even if it was a grade 7 demigod, it could also kill him. He stood in front of the fat monk, condescendingly looking down at him. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for eating meat in front of me. Wu Hong waved his right hand and slapped down at the fat monk. Good ability. At this time, a sound rang out. The voice immediately dispersed the force of Wu Hong's attack. Looking back, a monk walked out from the crowd. This person did not seem to have any power fluctuations, like a mortal. This monk was none other than Pu Hui. Who are you? Wu Hong turned his head, looked at Pu Hui, slightly frowning. Pu Hui put her palms together. This little monk's Dharma name is Pu Hui. May I know why benefactor wants to kill a Buddhist disciple? Buddhist disciple? Pu. He is obviously a demon. Breaking so many precepts, what qualifications does he have to be a Buddhist disciple? Before Wu Hong started, the surrounding people pointed at the fat monk, angrily rebuking. He, Pu Hui smiled slightly. Whether I am a Buddhist disciple or not, is it up to you to decide? This. Everyone was speechless. Who created the precepts and rules? Pu Hui asked. Naturally, it's Tathagata Buddha. Buddha Tathagata? Have you heard of it? Aren't you all relying on word of mouth? Buddha said to be merciful and merciful. If you can, then do it. You want to slaughter the disciples of your own sect just for a moment of pleasure. Didn't you break the rules? Aren't you also demons that must be executed? His words caused everyone's faces to turn red and they lowered their heads. Shame was written all over everyone's face. As long as there is kindness in your heart and in your actions, you are a disciple of the Buddhist sect. At this point, Pu Hui raised her right hand and pointed at Wu Hong. And he has never shaved his head, and has cultivated other great Taoists. Since when has such a person been a disciple of our Buddhist sect? He only came to the Buddhist nation to obtain a Buddhist throne. Moreover, he even uses the secret demonic sound to confuse people's minds. He is the true devil. Pu Hui's voice reverberated in everyone's ears. Many people woke up one after another. Wu Hong's secret technique was broken, and his expression was ugly. He pointed at Pu Hui. What I cultivate is the grand Buddhist Tao. You're the real devil. You're misleading the people with your lies. With that, Wu Hong's right hand emitted a golden light and pounced straight at Pu Hui. The surrounding air was distorted at an extreme speed. The terrifying aura made people's scalp tingle. Seeing this scene, Pu Hui's face did not change. She unhurriedly stretched out her palm and pressed forward. Buzz! A Buddhist seal flew out from her palm and instantly blasted Wu Hong's body. Boom! A loud sound rang out. Wu Hong's body staggered back and directly fell to the ground. He struggled to stand up with a face full of shame and anger. "I'll fight with you!" With a roar, Wu Hong's whole body quickly lit up with golden light. In the blink of an eye, he turned into a golden arhat. That kind of indestructible aura surged over. "You devil, helping the tyrant do evil, today we will die together." Wu Hong's voice was cold, and he was about to rush forward. "Stop!" A light shout made Wu Hong and Pu Hui's face change slightly. "Buddha!" On Pu Hui's face there was a touch of fear. Unexpectedly, a small city actually had a Buddha guarding it. "The city competition is about to begin. You must not cause any more trouble, otherwise you will be killed without mercy." A roar shook everyone's ears. Everyone's eyes revealed fear, and they lowered their heads. "Humph!" Wu Hong's face showed unwillingness, pointing at Pu Hui. "Little monk, I will remember you. This matter is not over." "Benefactor, you have violated a precept again, talking nonsense," Pu Hui said. Wu Hong's chest stagnated. He reluctantly put down his hand, turned around and quickly left. "Thank you, master, for saving my life." The fat monk and the other came to Pu Hui and gave a Buddhist salute. "No need to be so polite." After saying that, Pu Hui quickly left. Everyone looked at Pu Hui, their faces changing. Worship, awe, doubt, all kinds of emotions were written on their faces. "Who is he?" A Buddhist seal actually blasted Wu Hong back? "I don't know, he doesn't seem to be famous." "Not famous? Such a powerful strength. He is at least an 8th grade demigod, right? This kind of person, how can he not be famous in the 3 realms? Maybe that monk is low-key." Such voices constantly sounded. In the crowd, Sun Hao looked at this scene, smiled and nodded. This Pu Hui not only had a high perception, but also a good mind. It seemed that he did not see the wrong person. "Young master, Wu Hong is gone." Six-eared macaque pointed to Wu Hong's back and said, "He can't go, we will go find him later," Sun Hao said with a smile. "Okay, young master." In. "Wow, young master Wu Hong is coming, so handsome." Handsome fart, today he was blown back by a little monk named Pu Hui with one punch. What? He was blown back by a little monk? Then he is too weak, right? That's not it. Wu Hong walked into the inn, heard these voices, and stared directly at the people who were gossiping. However, "What are you looking at, not convinced? Come and hit me if you are not afraid of death." I feel King cool to see him angry. Many people raised the corners of their mouths, extremely arrogant. Wu Hong clenched his fists until they cracked. Finally, he reluctantly let go of his hands. He secretly remembered the appearance of these people, hiding the killing intent in his heart. After restoring his calm appearance, he walked back to his room. With a wave of his right hand, he set up an isolation array. "Ah!" Wu Hong roared angrily, his blood-red eyes staring straight ahead. "Pu Hui, you wait for me. Don't let me meet you, otherwise I will make you look good." After a long time, Wu Hong gradually calmed down. Suddenly, Wu Hong raised his eyebrows and looked up. His pupils shrank and his face changed dramatically. At some point there was another person in the room. Chapter 432. Standing in front of Wu Hong was a middle-aged man dressed in a red robe. He stood there, illusory. If one didn't look carefully, they would think that he didn't exist. Wu Hong released his secret technique, but he couldn't sense the fluctuations of power from the red-robed man. From the looks of it, he was just like a mortal. He didn't even know when this person had appeared. This person's strength was definitely not simple. "You are..." Wu Hong looked at the red-robed man, his face full of doubt. The red-robed man grinned, walked in front of Wu Hong, and patted his shoulder. "Don't be afraid, I am your 15th ancestor." Hearing this, Wu Hong's pupils shrank and his eyes widened. "You are my 15th ancestor?" Wu Hong let out a cry of surprise. Disbelief was written all over his face. According to the records of the Wu clan, tens of thousands of years ago, The 15th ancestor went out to train and never came back. Everyone thought that the 15th ancestor had died. Who would have thought that the 15th ancestor was here? Using the family's secret technique, he felt a sense of kinship that was thicker than water enveloped his heart. Wu Hong could confirm that this person was indeed related to him by blood. 15th ancestor, why are you here? Wu Hong asked. Sigh. The red-robed man sighed softly, a hint of fear on his face. It's a long story, let's not talk about it now. The most important thing now is to go on the Buddhist path. You must obtain a Buddhist position and find a technique on the Buddhist path. It will be of great help to you in the future. The red-robed man's face was solemn. 15th ancestor, I understand. Wu Hong nodded, looked at the red-robed man, and asked, 15th ancestor, why are you here? I am the steward of Ma City. The entire city is under my control. The red-robed man said. Then were you the one who stopped me just now? Wu Hong asked. Yes. The red-robed man nodded. Why didn't you let me kill him? Wu Hong's face was full of grievance. Kill him? The red-robed man smiled coldly. I dare say that you will definitely die. That little monk called Pu Hui is far more complicated than he looks. Hearing this, Wu Hong's pupils shrank and his face was full of disbelief. How is that possible? Nothing is impossible. The red-robed man's face was full of seriousness. The Buddhist kingdom is far more complicated than it looks. There are crouching tigers and hidden dragons here. I'm afraid there are even mid-deities here. If you cause trouble here, you won't even know how you died. When Wu Hong heard these words, his pupils constricted and his body trembled. Beads of sweat rolled down his forehead as he revealed the joy of surviving a calamity. Fortunately, without the 15th ancestor, it was hard to say what would have happened. 15th ancestor, what business do you have with me? Wu Hong asked. I've come to find you this time because I need you to get first place in the competition on Mingtian Buddha Road. The red-robed man said. 15th Patriarch, isn't Pu Hui very powerful? How can I get first place? Wu Hong asked. He is very powerful, but that doesn't mean he has no weaknesses. Speaking up to here, the red-robed man took out a jade bottle and handed it to Wu Hong. This is the soul-devouring poison. As long as you come into contact with it, your soul will be severely injured. Take this to deal with Pu Hui. Wu Hong's expression changed, and he took 2 steps back. Panic was written all over his face. 15th ancestor, we cultivate the Tao of Buddhism and are the disciples of the Buddha. How could we use such despicable methods? The Tao of Buddhism? The red-robed man sneered. Do you really think that the Buddha is merciful? Is he not? Wu Hong's expression froze. The red-robed man looked around, his face full of fear. With a wave of his right hand, he set up several layers of restrictions. If the Buddha is merciful, why would I be locked up here? The red-robed man said. What? 15th ancestor, you were locked up here by the Buddha? Wu Hong's face was full of disbelief. Of course not, it was his subordinates. Let me tell you, all living beings in the Buddhist nation are just tools for the Buddha to increase his strength. There's only one ending for those who don't listen, and that is to have their souls destroyed. The red-robed man's words made Wu Hong break out in a cold sweat, his face full of fear. The knowledge that had shrouded his heart for thousands of years was shattered at this moment. Remember what I said, first place is very important to you. You must get first place at all costs. The red-robed man looked at Wu Hong with a solemn expression. Yes, 15th ancestor. In. The 6-eared macaque looked at Sun Hao and scratched his head, his face full of doubts. Young master, aren't you going to find Wu Hong? Someone has gone to find him. I'd better not go to him. Sun Hao said. Who is it that can make you afraid? The 6-eared macaque asked. A god. Sun Hao said. As soon as these words came out, the faces of the 6-eared macaque and the Thunder Tribulation Lord changed drastically. Young master, is there a god in this Buddha nation? The Thunder Tribulation Lord asked. Yes. Sun Hao nodded slightly, listening to them talk. I'm afraid there are even middle gods. This. The two opened their mouths wide and murmured for a long time without saying a word. They were very clear about what a god meant. That was the darling of the heavens, who could control the power of the law, which was far from what immortal cultivators could compare with. Ordinary gods were already extremely difficult to meet, not to mention the lower and middle gods. Young master, since the other party is a god, I think he must know where the teleportation channel of the heavenly dipper star is. With your strength, it should be no problem to control that god, right? Why not ask him? The Thunder Tribulation Lord asked. Sun Hao smiled slightly. It's far from as simple as you think. There is a karma line on that god, and someone must be secretly supervising. In case the person behind finds out, it's not appropriate to act rashly. Even if you want to make a move, you must have absolute certainty. Sun Hao said. When the Thunder Tribulation Lord heard this, they nodded secretly. Young master, what do we need to do? You don't need to do anything, just watch, leave everything to me. The corner of Sun Hao's mouth rose, revealing a look of controlling everything. Subsequently, he looked at the six-eared macaque. 6 ears, what are the conditions to break through to the divine spirit realm? Sun Hao asked. Young master, there are 3 conditions to become a god. First, refining the divine body, you need to have a physical body that can withstand the power of the divine spirit. Second, forge the divine vein, this is the energy channel to mobilize the divine spirit. Third, condense the divine spark, this is the channel to store the divine spirit, just like the dantian of the mortal cultivator. The six-eared macaque said. Hearing this, Sun Hao nodded secretly. 6 ears, how many conditions have you met? Young master, following you these days, I have recovered 2 conditions. The divine body has been formed, the divine vein has been forged, now, only condensing the divine spark. The six-eared macaque said. Is it difficult to condense the divine spark? Sun Hao asked. The six-eared macaque showed a bitter smile. Young master, condensing the divine spark is difficult, but it is not easy. Because condensing the divine spark can only rely on oneself, others can't help. Moreover, condensing the divine spark requires the help of several kinds of divine objects to greatly increase the probability. The six-eared macaque said. Hearing this, Sun Hao secretly breathed a few sighs of relief. It seemed that becoming a god was far from as simple as imagined. Although he could defeat the gods, it did not mean that he was a god. Right now, there were only 2 things that were most important: obtain the cultivation method and resurrect like a dream. Sun Hao thought secretly, his face showing a touch of determination. Chapter 433. In the Buddhist and Taoist competition field. Young Master Wu Hong. Young Master Wu Hong. Countless Buddhist and Taoist cultivators stood in the field, waving their hands with enthusiasm. They shouted the 4 words, Young Master Wu Hong, and the whole scene was in an uproar. On the field, Wu Hong stood in place, smiling and waving his hands at the crowd. His calm appearance was like a victorious general. After nearly 100 matches, Wu Hong was undefeated, and his opponents couldn't even touch his clothes. The last match was already the championship competition, and after winning, he would get first place. Next, let's welcome Master Pu Hui. The host roared. However, hush, bursts of boos sounded. Everyone looked at Pu Hui, their faces full of contempt. 1 second place without a fight, this is simply a miracle in history. Pu Hui's strength is not good, but his luck is heaven-defying. Every time he gets a bye, his luck is simply soaring. Wait and see, when he meets young Master Wu Hong, he will definitely be beaten to a pulp. The sound of discussion continued. For these, Pu Hui seemed not to hear. He walked straight in front of Wu Hong and performed a Buddhist greeting. Almsgiver, we meet again, Pu Hui said with a smile. Wu Hong smiled and secretly touched the jade bottle in his hand. Pu Hui, no matter how strong you are, in front of this spirit-devouring poison, you will become a reptile. You will suffer later. Wu Hong looked at Pu Hui, standing there calmly, not saying a word. Begin. After a sound. Ah! Wu Hong lightly shouted, his body shining with golden light. He looked like a Vajra Arhat with an indestructible feeling. Buzz, in an instant, he and Pu Hui were fighting. Dong, the two collided, and the sound of metal colliding rang out continuously. The more they fought, the more shocked Wu Hong was. This Pu Hui's body was like a Vajra, not the slightest bit weaker than his own golden body. In this world, how could there be such a strong body? Could it be that he had already forged a divine body? How was this possible? Wu Hong revealed a serious face and summoned the Buddhist seal. Buzz, the air trembled. The Buddhist seal superimposed on the golden body, bursting out a shocking roar, like a meteor hitting Pu Hui. Boom, a loud sound. Deng deng, Pu Hui staggered backward, and it took her quite some time to stabilize herself. What? I'm fine. This Pu Hui actually blocked Wu Hong's killing move with just his body? How is this possible? Not only is Pu Hui's luck heaven-defying, but his strength is also terrifying. The spectators' stands were in an uproar. Everyone looked at Pu Hui in astonishment. They saw. Pu Hui stood in the arena, the corners of her mouth slightly raised, looking calm. He stretched out his palm unhurriedly. Buzz, a Buddhist seal flew out from his palm and enveloped his fist. He took a step forward and instantly disappeared from the spot. When he appeared again, he was already in front of Wu Hong. Wu Hong's pupils constricted and his expression changed slightly. In a moment of panic, he stretched out his fist. Boom! The two fists collided, causing a loud explosion. The two of them stumbled backward. Wu Hong looked at Pu Hui with fear on his face. Pu Hui, I don't want to kill you. Give me the first place, okay? Wu Hong used his divine sense to transmit his voice. Hee. Pu Hui smiled faintly and did not reply. Her fighting spirit rose, and she had no intention of retreating. If that's the case, don't blame me for being ruthless. In Wu Hong's eyes, a killing intent flashed. If that's the case, then come on. Wu Hong raised the corner of his mouth, secretly clenched the jade bottle, and rushed towards Wu Hong. Boom! The two people's fists collided again, bursting out with a deafening sound. The golden light shot straight to the ninth heaven, and a shock force pushed the two to the side. Howl! The terrifying power was like a dragon's roar, shocking everyone's mind. Everyone watched the two fight, sitting in place, without any reaction for a long time. That stunned look could not be described with words. After a moment, This Pu Hui is too powerful, right? Just relying on a Buddhist seal, she is actually evenly matched with young Master Wu Hong. I even laughed at him just now, it's simply too ignorant. Yeah, I wish there was a hole in the ground to crawl into. Everyone muttered to themselves, looking at Pu Hui with eyes full of worship. That is? Suddenly, an exclamation sounded. Following this person's gaze, everyone stared at Pu Hui, their faces full of doubt. Only to see. Pu Hui stood in place, his body emitting a green light. The veins on his face bulged, revealing a look of pain. Shrill screams, resounding throughout the entire competition field. Plop! Pu Hui collapsed to the ground, his screams gradually weakened. It looked like he was seriously injured. What happened to Master Pu Hui? He was still fine just now. That is God-devouring poison. What? My God! How did Master Pu Hui plant this poison? That goes without saying, someone poisoned him. This voice woke up the people on the viewing platform. Everyone stared at Wu Hong. That kind of angry light seemed to want to drown Wu Hong. This was done by young Master Wu Hong? How can he be such a person? That goes without saying, looking at his appearance, he must have been prepared long ago. My God, The Tao companion I fancy is actually this kind of sanctimonious hypocrite? Damn, actually poisoning. In vain as a Buddhist cultivator. This kind of despicable means, he actually used it. This kind of person, how can we let him come to the Buddhist land? On the viewing platform, instantly, the sound of criticism sounded continuously. There were even many people who stood up, using all kinds of moves against Wu Hong. Boom, thousands of streams of light exploded on the shield, exploding continuously. The shield twisted and deformed, as if it was about to explode. The guardian of the array had an ugly expression, constantly using the power in his body to maintain the energy of the shield. The host stood on the stage, his expression changing. Facing this kind of situation, it was not easy for him to handle. Quiet. Wu Hong lightly shouted. This sound, with magic, instantly shook everyone on the spot. They quieted down, looking at Wu Hong with a puzzled look. Everyone, what you said is wrong. I, Wu Hong, walk upright. When did I use despicable means? Wu Hong's voice rumbled, shaking everyone's ears. Hearing this, everyone was puzzled. You dare to say that the god-devouring poison was not planted by you? A strong man pointed at Wu Hong, shouting loudly. That's right, the god-devouring poison was planted by me. With this sound, the surroundings exploded again. The whole scene was out of control again. When everyone calmed down, Wu Hong spoke again. You're really wrong, poisoning is also a kind of ability. Who made the rule that poison can't be used in a competition? Is there such a rule? Wu Hong looked at the host and asked. Wow, everyone's eyes were fixed on the host. At this moment, the host was the center of attention. Under this kind of gaze, the host stood in place, his forehead overflowing with fine beads of sweat. No, the host said honestly. Chapter 434. What? No? How can you use such despicable means? Despicable poison, is he still a Buddhist? On the viewing platform, everyone looked at the host and kept criticizing and scolding. The host stood on the spot with an ugly expression. He lowered his head and did not say a word. Quiet. Wu Hong shouted softly and everyone quietened down again. Since there is no rule that says that poison can't be used, do you think it's too much for me to use despicable means? I, Wu Hong, am upright. If anyone dares to discredit me, my Wu family will not be jealous. Wu Hong's gaze swept across and everyone who met his gaze lowered their heads, not daring to look at him. Wu Hong looked at this scene and the corner of his mouth rose. He turned back to look at the host and said with a smile, Why, do you need me to announce the champion? The host's body trembled and recovered from the shock. He stood a few steps forward and said loudly through the sound amplification formation, I announce that the champion of this time's Ma City Buddha Road competition is, wait. Before the host finished speaking, a voice sounded from the competition field. This voice was like a boulder falling into the water, stirring up layers of ripples. Look! A burst of exclamations sounded. Everyone squinted their eyes and their expressions changed greatly, their faces full of surprise. Master Pu Hui is fine? Oh my God, nothing happened to him after being poisoned by the god-devouring poison. Amazing, Master Pu Hui must be the champion this time. The exclamations continued. Wu Hong saw everyone's reaction and kept the smile on his face. Turning around and looking at the scene in front of him, he could not help but widen his eyes. How is this possible? Wu Hong murmured. Only to see. Pu Hui had already stood up, the god-devouring poison in his body had long disappeared. Buzz, on his body, 10 Buddha seals started to circle around him. Golden light spilled out from his body, looking like a Buddha, very sacred. 10 Buddha seals? What's going on? Isn't one person only able to condense one Buddha seal? How can this be? That's not it. Many geniuses can condense 2 to 3 Buddha seals. Some evildoers can even condense 4 to 5 Buddha seals. This is the first time I've seen 10 Buddha seals like this. In this case, isn't Master Pu Hui a supreme evildoer? Cries of alarm rang out continuously. Wu Hong looked at Pu Hui and opened his mouth, but he couldn't utter a word for a long time. The scene before them was simply unbelievable and unimaginable. This is impossible. Wu Hong rubbed his eyes, unwilling to believe what he was seeing. However, the 10 Buddhist seals strongly stimulated his nerve. His heart felt like it was being battered by raging waves, and he couldn't calm down at all. Buzz, suddenly. A sound rang out. Rays of golden light surged out from the 10 Buddhist seals. These golden lights drilled out like silk threads and connected with the nearest Buddha seal. In less than a moment, the 10 Buddhist seals were connected by the golden threads and overlapped with each other, bursting out with a soul-stirring power. His aura instantly increased tenfold. My Buddha, this is a restraint. What? This is a fetter, oh heavens! This Pu Hui is too scary. Everyone looked at this scene and muttered to themselves. There was no response for a long time. Wu Hong opened his mouth but didn't spit out a single word. He looked at Pu Hui with a terrified expression. The competition between us is not over. This is just the beginning. Pu Hui looked down at Wu Hong from above, walking towards him step by step. Wu Hong opened his mouth but didn't say a word. A fatal crisis enveloped his entire body. Without any hesitation, Wu Hong strode out and fled at high speed. Pu Hui smiled coldly. 2 rays of golden light shot out from his eyes. Shocking killing intent surged from his body and enveloped Wu Hong. Huff! A chill spread from the bottom of Wu Hong's feet to his whole body. Wu Hong's body trembled, his footsteps paused, and he fell to the ground on his butt. Thud, thud, Pu Hui walked towards Wu Hong step by step. Each step made Wu Hong's heart beat violently once. What do you want to do? Sensing that irresistible power on Pu Hui, Wu Hong's face revealed panic. You want to kill me? Why are you still asking me? Pu Hui said coldly. You want to kill me? Wu Hong's expression froze. Of course, Pu Hui said coolly. When these words came out, there was dead silence all around. Everyone's eyes stared at Pu Hui, their faces full of disbelief. I didn't hear wrongly, right? Pu Hui said he wants to kill Wu Hong? You didn't hear wrongly. But, doesn't Pu Hui know Wu Hong's identity? He is Wu Tai's son. Yeah, if he is killed, Pu Hui will be chased by the entire Cultivator Alliance. Some bounty hunters will not let him go. I heard that Wu Hong's cousin, Wu Tan, also came to the Buddha Kingdom. It is said that the two of them have a very good relationship. If he kills Wu Hong, will Wu Tan let him go? Master Pu Hui, don't be impulsive. It's not worth killing him. Voices of advice kept ringing. Wu Hong looked at Pu Hui, stunned on the spot. He dug his ears, revealing a look of disbelief. Soon after, Wu Hong grinned and pointed at Pu Hui. You said you want to kill me? You know who I am? Do you know what you are saying? You know, before he finished his words. Boom, a golden fist directly hit Wu Hong's face. Puff, a mouthful of blood mixed with teeth spurted out from Wu Hong's mouth and splattered on the ground. Wu Hong's entire face was deformed. He fell heavily to the ground and vomited blood. A serious injury. This punch directly woke Wu Hong up. He looked at Pu Hui, his eyes full of fear. He was sure that this Pu Hui would definitely kill him. A sense of crisis of death shrouded his heart. Wu Hong looked at Pu Hui walking over step by step. His face changed dramatically. Pu Hui, don't kill me, I beg you. Master Pu Hui, I was wrong. Please spare my life. However, it was of no use. Pu Hui did not slow down and quickly walked over. 10 Buddhist seals enveloped Pu Hui's fist, aimed at Wu Hong and blasted down. Seeing that irresistible power, Wu Hong was extremely frightened. He used all his strength and roared. 15th Ancestor, save me! This sound rose. Buzz, the sky trembled. A golden transparent palm quickly formed and pressed on Pu Hui's body. Huff! Pu Hui's body flew out like a kite with a broken string. A terrifying power wantonly destroyed her body. Pu Hui felt that her body was about to explode. It was extremely uncomfortable. Heavenly Buddha, disciple is incompetent, go first. Pu Hui's face turned red, the skin all over her body expanded rapidly, and it looked like it was about to explode. At this time, a gentle force enveloped her body and dissolved the explosive power. Pu Hui slowly landed, revealing a face of surprise. Heavenly Buddha saved me? Pu Hui muttered to herself, looked up and saw a red-robed man standing in midair. A godly aura emanated from his body, causing those who saw him to feel awe and veneration. 15th Ancestor. Seeing the red-robed man, Wu Hong ran up with a face full of surprise. Humph, useless thing, spoiling my good thing. After that, the red-robed man backhanded Wu Hong, causing him to be dumbfounded. 15th Ancestor? Wu Hong covered his face, feeling extremely wronged. Chapter 435. Ma City Lord Wu Ji. Why is he here? Wu Ji is actually a god, my god. Wu Ji is Wu Hong's 15th ancestor? Everyone stared blankly at the red-robed man, stunned in place. Many people showed a touch of uneasiness on their faces. He's not dead? The red-robed man's eyes stared directly at Pu Hui, and his expression was slightly startled. A demigod could survive under his hands. How was this possible? Did he have a rare treasure on him? No matter what you have, die with me. The red-robed man glanced around, and the corner of his mouth raised a sneer. He waved his right hand. Wu Hong's body flew out uncontrollably and fell into the red-robed man's hands. The red-robed man grabbed Wu Hong's neck with one hand, and no matter how he struggled, it was useless. 15th Ancestor, let go. Wu Hong had difficulty breathing, and he used all his strength to shout out these words. However, not only did the red-robed man not let go, but on the contrary, his strength increased a bit. Hee. The red-robed man smiled coldly. You can't do anything, but you're good at spoiling things. Today's blood sacrifice will start with you. When these words fell, a fatal crisis enveloped Wu Hong. Wu Hong's face changed dramatically, and his limbs fluttered. Boom! There was an explosion. Wu Hong's body burst into a blood mist, enveloping the red-robed man. The red-robed man opened his mouth and sucked hard. The blood mist quickly poured into his nostrils. He closed his eyes, revealing a look of enjoyment. Such a scene strongly stimulated the nerves of the people on the viewing platform. Everyone's eyes widened, and their faces were filled with disbelief. What kind of monster is he? How is he a Buddhist cultivator? He is obviously a devil. Don't just stand there, run. Panicked voices sounded constantly. Everyone took a step and fled quickly. However, a layer of transparent barrier enveloped the entire Ma City. No matter how hard they tried, they couldn't escape. The red-robed man slowly flew into the sky. His eyes swept across the entire city, and he laughed up to the sky. His clothes were fluttering, and his body was shrouded in blood. His skin turned from white to red. It looked like a peerless devil, making people break out in cold sweat and despair. My God, the city lord is actually a demon. A god-level demon. Who can fight against it? It's over, it's over. Cries of despair rang out continuously. The Buddhist cultivators in the city were like ants on a hot pan, scurrying everywhere. The whole city was in chaos. Die. All of you die. All of you are merely my food. The red-robed man raised his head to the sky and laughed maniacally. Blood chi roared from his body, enveloping the entire area. That kind of power that could devour everything whistled down from the sky. In an instant it enveloped the entire city. Blood-curdling screams rang out continuously. Everyone's skin split open, and their chi and blood flew uncontrollably into the sky. Tens of thousands of blood threads quickly entered the red-robed man's body. The red-robed man's aura was rapidly becoming stronger. Animal, stop! A loud roar shook the heavens and earth. A monk covered in golden light soared into the sky and pounced at the red-robed man. This person was Pu Hui. On his body, 108 Buddha seals enveloped his whole body, like a tortoise shell wrapping him. At the same time, Pu Hui's skin turned golden, shining brightly under the light. Buzz! He stretched out his palm and pressed it down on the red-robed man. Boom! Heaven and earth trembled, and the red-robed man's body flew out. The blood mist and pressure he had unleashed instantly crumbled. Everyone regained their freedom at this moment. They looked at the sky, their eyes all staring at Pu Hui. Worship, surprise, and disbelief were written all over their faces. Master Pu Hui saved us, and actually repelled a god with one punch? My god, 108 Buddha seals? This is really unseen and unheard of. Too terrifying. Too powerful. We're saved. The eyes of the Buddhist cultivators in the entire city were staring at Pu Hui. In their eyes there was a light of hope. The red-robed man stared at Pu Hui, also secretly surprised. A hint of fear flashed across his face. 108 Buddha seals. Even the Buddha can only cultivate 36 Buddha seals at most, right? This kind of peerless evildoer is hard to find in 1,000 years. If you run away, I really can't do anything to you, but since you came to me, then don't blame me for being impolite. This kind of peerless delicacy is mine. Ha ha! The red-robed man laughed, incomparably crazy. He looked at Pu Hui rushing towards him, his face not the slightest fear. Come on, he shouted softly. Who, under the ground of Ma Ching, suddenly, a blood mist, this blood mist, rushed up to the sky, formed a blood dragon, and rushed straight to the red-robed man. Buzz, the red-robed man's aura, quickly increased wildly. First-grade lower god, second-grade lower god, all the way to third-grade lower god before stopping. The pressure of the lower god rushed down from the red-robed man, shrouding all directions. At this moment, everyone in the city felt as if they were carrying hundreds of millions of mountains. Their bodies fell to the ground uncontrollably, shivering. Humph! Pu Hui snorted coldly, raised his fist, aimed at Ma Ching, and pressed down with his palm. Boom! With a loud explosion, the pressure that enveloped everyone instantly collapsed. Everyone recovered and looked up at the sky. Their pupils shrank, and their faces changed dramatically. Only to see, in the sky, boom, bursts of explosions, as if to explode the sky. The red-robed man and Pu Hui fought together. The two fought back and forth, equally matched. The resulting shock wave kept vibrating out. The entire sky was constantly distorted. Every sound seemed to hit everyone's chest, causing their bodies to tremble. They looked at Pu Hui and secretly prayed. The battle became more and more intense, and Pu Hui's strength was exhausted. Boom! With a loud noise, Pu Hui's body flew out and slammed into the sky shield. Puff! A mouthful of blood spurted out. The 108 Buddha seals on his body instantly dimmed. Even the golden avatar had disappeared. It seemed that he was exhausted and unable to fight again. He looked at the red-robed man, his face showing a hint of unwillingness. Hee, such strong chi and blood, I can't wait to eat. When I swallow you, my strength will definitely soar. At that time, who can be my opponent? Ha ha! The red-robed man looked down at Pu Hui, looking up to the sky and laughing. This scene, in the eyes of everyone in the city, once again fell into deep despair. Facing a god, there was no possibility of winning. Many people knelt on the ground and began to pray. Buddha, please save us. Buddha, please send Buddha to expel this kind of demon. Such voices sounded constantly in the city. When the red-robed man heard this, he revealed a sneer. This place has been shielded by me. Even if you cry out loud, no one can come to save you. Die for me. The red-robed man looked at Pu Hui, raised the corner of his mouth, stretched out his right hand and blasted at Pu Hui. Seeing that the palm was about to hit Pu Hui, at this time a laugh sounded. Chapter 436. Seeing that the red-robed man's palm was about to fall on Pu Hui, at this time, a laugh sounded. The power on the red-robed man's palm disintegrated instantly. Tap tap, a force directly shook the red-robed man back a few steps. The red-robed man stood in place and his face changed slightly. He saw. In front of Pu Hui stood a monk in white. This person was Sun Hao's transformation. "Are you okay?" Sun Hao looked at Pu Hui and asked. "All Buddha, Master, this disciple is fine." Pu Hui struggled to stand up and bowed deeply to Sun Hao. In the city, a group of Buddhist cultivators looked at this scene with different expressions on their faces. Who is he? Why does Master Pu Hui respect him so much? Claiming to be a disciple, is that person a Buddha? There are no fluctuations of power, he seems to be immortal. Doubts were written all over everyone's faces. The red-robed man looked at Sun Hao, frowning and thinking, and his face changed. Being able to break his own power, the strength of the person in front of him was by no means simple. However, he had already set up the blood-refining divine formation. Even if it was a middle god, it was impossible to escape for a while. The matter had been exposed, and he must not let one person escape here. Otherwise, his soul would fly away and scatter. Thinking like this, the red-robed man showed a touch of firmness. Without any hesitation, the red-robed man, like a ghost, instantly floated behind Sun Hao. As soon as he raised his hand, he made a killing move. Howl, a blood-red claw, with the momentum of tearing everything, grabbed at Sun Hao's head. The terrifying might caused people's hearts to tremble. "Be careful!" Pu Hui's face changed drastically, and he shouted hurriedly. However, it was too late. Without any accident, the blood-red claw grabbed Sun Hao's head in an instant. All the Buddhist cultivators in the city closed their eyes, not daring to look at Sun Hao's miserable scene. "Master Fantian." Pu Hui closed his eyes and tears brewed in his eyes. On his face there was a touch of remorse. "It's all my fault. If I blocked this move for Master Fantian, how good it would be." When Pu Hui was grieving, a strange force surged through his body. The scars on his body healed quickly. His strength grew rapidly. Sensing all this, Pu Hui's eyes shone. Could it be? Opening his eyes, his face changed drastically from surprise to joy. They saw. The blood-red claw had disappeared at some point. Sun Hao stood in place without any scars. Not too far away from him, the red-robed man was half kneeling on the ground, grimacing in pain as he let out a series of miserable cries. His entire right hand had disappeared. The Buddhist cultivators in the city opened their eyes and looked at the scene in the sky in bewilderment. What's going on? That Buddha is fine? That's great. A god's claw is broken? How did it break? Why should I close my eyes? Everyone's eyes were fixed on Sun Hao. The light of worship swept over in waves. The red-robed man looked at Sun Hao with a face full of fear. What realm has this kid's fleshly body reached? You actually broke my blood demon hand. Am I going to die here today? No, the red-robed man let out an unwilling roar. Any last words? Sun Hao looked at the red-robed man and said lightly. The red-robed man's expression kept changing. Don't force me. Are you done? Then die. Sun Hao stretched out his hand and grabbed toward the red-robed man. Looking at this palm, the red-robed man's heart sank to hell, and his heart could not produce the slightest resistance. No, I can't die. If you want to die, it's you. If that's the case, die. The red-robed man let out a roar. I'll let you taste the power of the blood-refining array. After this sound, on the ground of the city, a line of blood entangled rapidly and rushed up. Howl, in the blink of an eye, it formed a blood dragon. The blood dragon roared, and with a shocking power, it rushed straight to Sun Hao. The terrifying power seemed to be able to destroy the world. My God, that's the blood-refining array. It is said that even the ninth-grade lower god can be refined? Isn't this Wu Ji too terrifying? He can even arrange this kind of array? What a joke. He has been the city lord for tens of thousands of years. I'm afraid it's for this day. The moment they saw the blood dragon, exclamations sounded constantly. Everyone's face was full of worry. At the same time as the blood-refining array rushed straight to Sun Hao, who, a karma shrouded the red-robed man. At this moment, the red-robed man found that he was being supervised again. Everything he did was exposed. However, things had come to this point, and there was no room for maneuver. Boy, die! The red-robed man looked at Sun Hao, revealing a cold, killing intent. Then, he stepped forward, turned into a stream of light, went straight to the ninth sky, and disappeared. Howl! Hundreds of blood dragons rushed straight to Sun Hao. Sun Hao looked at this scene. His face did not change, stretched out his finger slowly, and flicked it forward. The 9 tribulations finger was used. Boom! There was a very light explosion. Without exception, hundreds of blood dragons exploded into nothingness and disappeared. All the pressure around suddenly dissipated. At this moment, everyone regained their freedom. They looked at Sun Hao in the sky, opened their mouths, and murmured for a long time without saying a word. That kind of shock and surprise was hard to describe in words. A moment later, hiss, the sound of inhaling cold air came one after another. They looked at Sun Hao, and the light of worship and admiration kept shining. I'm dazzled. The blood-refining array was destroyed with one finger? This must be at least the strength of a god. It's terrifying. This is definitely a Buddha. In Ma City there was a burst, and it couldn't calm down at all. The next second it made them widen their eyes, and they were shocked to the extreme. They saw. Want to run? Sun Hao smiled coldly, stretched out his right hand and grabbed forward. Buzz! A big transparent hand condensed and formed, directly piercing the sky, shaking up layers of ripples. No, an unwilling cry resounded through the sky. They saw that the big transparent hand grabbed a red-robed man. He was the city lord of Ma City, Wu Ji. Such a scene strongly stimulated everyone's nerves. Their eyes widened, and their eyeballs seemed to stare out, and their chins seemed to fall. My lord, spare me! The red-robed man was bound in the big transparent hand, and couldn't move at all. His face was full of despair, looking at Sun Hao, showing a begging look. Hee. Sun Hao smiled coldly and did not answer. My lord, you don't do it for me, for yourself, you must let me go. This Buddha's kingdom is far from simple as it looks on the surface. While you still have time now, hurry up and escape. Otherwise, when they come, no matter how powerful your means are, you will die without a doubt. The red-robed man said one sentence at a time, constantly persuading Sun Hao. However, Sun Hao was unmoved. Die. The transparent giant hand slowly clenched. No, the red-robed man let out a cry of unwillingness. Seeing that, the transparent giant hand was about to pinch the red-robed man into powder. At this time, buzz, the world trembled, and 4 golden lights divided into 4 corners and fell rapidly.